Okay, so we should now be streaming. This is the second session of our Old School Essentials Smoke and Snow campaign. When we last left our heroes, they had travelled from their colonial settlement of New Seal Land. They travelled to the west to another reputed colony known as Castlemaine. They found the place in ruins, signs of violence there, and they found a single survivor. The survivor was able to tell them eventually that some great beast had come and attacked the village and had carried the villagers off and maimed and eaten them. They eventually encountered this beast, and it turned out to be this strange bear-like creature whose, instead of having a roar, it effectively mimicked a human voice calling out for help. They were able to defeat this creature by digging a pit trap and luring it in. They then skinned it, took whatever things they could from its body, and the survivor back to their village, and that is where we left off last time. So I'm hoping you guys can all see the map. I'm just going to center it. There we go. So you should be able to see the hex that you guys have explored. Obviously the ruins there are Castlemaine, which is about 12 miles to the west of you. Okay, so the first session took up approximately 6 days with all the travelling and stuff like that. So when we start, obviously you've taken the survivor, Horatio McGee, you took him back to New Seal Land. Now, I'm just going to make a quick roll on this handy dandy weather majigio that I've found to see what the weather's like. Okay, so as we start the second session, the weather is clear. The temperature's pretty moderate, so between sort of 4 and 10 degrees Celsius. You know, it's not exactly tropical, but you're not going to freeze to death if you're not going out with the big furs on. There's a light wind, about sort of 2 miles an hour. Doesn't really have any game effect, but there's a gentle breeze blowing, which you can probably hear outside if my microphone's picking it up. Okay, so you've all headed back to the village with Horatio McGee as I described. Now, during the course of the evening, after your return, you receive the sad news that one of the oldest colonists, Harriet Bennett, who was an old woman who was a wig maker by trade, has died during the night. The village apothecary has a look at her, and it seems to be natural causes. She was a very old woman. The apothecary says there's nothing really to be done, and most of the villagers have sort of gathered around to pay their respects. They've put her body in one of the sort of small huts that no one's occupying currently. Obviously, with the weather being fairly cold, they're like, oh, we can leave the body there until we've got time to do the appropriate burial rites, prayers, etc. However, as this is going on, you guys sort of being stood with the mess of the villagers, sort of looking at the body, saying your respects and whatever, you notice that Horatio McGee, the man you rescued from the ruins of Castlemaine, he's looking extremely nervous as this whole tableau is unfolding in front of you. And you notice, and all of you notice, I'm not going to ask you to make a roll for it, but you notice that every so often when he thinks no one's looking, he keeps sort of nervously glancing at the body of Harriet Bennett, which they've basically sort of laid out on some furs and sort of covered her over with a blanket so that just her head's poking out. Her facial expression is fairly peaceful. She died in her sleep, so they've crossed her arms over her chest, wrapped her up in furs, and just like her head starting to gain the slightly ashen pallor of death is sort of poking out the top. But like I say, she's got a fairly peaceful expression on her face, died in her sleep. But you notice McGee keeps sort of nervously glancing at the body, and then occasionally he'll sort of nervously lean out of the hut that people are gathering in and sort of look up and then he ducks back in. He looks quite skittish and a little bit jumpy, which, yeah, he did in Castlemaine for obvious reasons, but he seemed to have calmed down once he got back to the village and he was settled. Whereas now he again looks very nervous and quite scared, to be honest.
And how long has he been back here with us?
He's been back here with you for about a day.
Okay. And for the first day, he was kind of calm and collected.
Yeah, once he got back to the village and you were like, oh, it's all safe here. You know, the village apothecary checked him out. They put together him some like tea and some like warm food, you know, because he'd been hiding out in his dank hut in like Castlemaine, not daring to go out and get food or anything. Once he got a meal in him and he got some warm drink in him and he realised he was safe, he'd started to calm down a bit. But now the announcement of like I said, the natural death of Miss Bennett seems to have like spooked him or set him on edge, and he started to get that sort of slightly furtive, sort of worried look on his features. Over to you guys.
I'll sidle over to him.
Yeah, not a problem. He's you notice as you sidle over to him that he's like obviously deliberately sort of stood as near to the door as he possibly can while still being like within the building. He starts a little as you approach and he's like, sorry, Oscar, I didn't see you there.
Oh, lost in your thoughts, were you? Yes, I know. It's very sad.
Yes, yes, very, very sad indeed. And he nervously glances over at the body again. Did obviously I'd not really met her, only having been here for a day. Did you know her well?
Not especially. She was a wig maker and don't really require a wig.
And I hear there. I hear there's something of a mark of status and for the well-to-do and all that. But I didn't know she was a wig maker. Like I said, I didn't really know her at all.
Yeah, I left all that behind when I came here. Fresh start and all that.
As you're sort of talking, he leans in a bit closer to you, Oscar, and he lowers his voice and he says, "Sorry if this seems like a bit of a rude question, but how does your community bury their bodies?" And this hasn't been defined, so feel free to freestyle if you wish, Ian.
We have an area set aside outside the village. I'll just gesture out of the door up yonder. They're normally laid in state for a day or so, and then we'll have the priests come over and we'll bury her up there. Say some prayers and usher her off to a better place, all being well.
He leans in a bit closer and he's like, you don't cremate your bodies or anything then?
Only in exceptional circumstances.
Okay, I see. And he's like wringing his hands sort of like nervously as he's talking and keeps like glancing. You see like a few like beads of sweat broken out on his face.
What's wrong?
This is the first person you've lost since you settled here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not sure. Is it? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
He says, "Look, you need to burn the body, or at least secure it in some way. It's not safe otherwise."
What do you mean not safe for body or for the rest of us?
Yes.
Yes, both.
He says, listen, when we first settled in Castlemaine, as you're aware, there's a number of stone buildings already there, but we built some extra timber buildings to go with them. And when we were building them, unfortunately, a couple of the villagers were killed in an accident. A large log fell on two of them, and before we could help them, they had perished. We did rather like yourself. We buried them. I mean, because of the cold weather, we couldn't dig particularly deep graves, but we buried them. We said prayers and all that. However, that the next very night, as darkness fell, their bodies clawed their way out of their own graves, and they started walking. I tell you, walking out of the village, heading north. When one of the villagers tried to stop them, they slew him, only for him to then get up and follow them north. That's one of the other reasons I was hiding in my hut. It wasn't only that damn bear creature or whatever it was that I was afraid of. I'd heard it killing some of the villagers. I was worried that they would also be roaming around outside my hut. But when you rescued me, I thought you think me mad if I was to say that the dead villagers had been roaming around. So I didn't say anything. I mean, it didn't seem necessary at the time. But now this poor woman's passed away.
So how long did it take for this?
It was when darkness fell on the evening after their death. That was when it happened in the village. Like I say,
just look outside. The sun's still high in the sky.
Yeah, it's early morning, because basically they woke up in the morning, found the woman dead, and only a couple of hours passed as the headsman's gathered the village and been like, oh, unfortunately our fellow settler has passed away, and there's been a bit of talk about her and sort of chat, and put her in this hut. So it's taken a couple of hours, but we're probably on about sort of 10 a.m. in the morning.
All right. So who do we have a priest?
Yeah, you'll have a priest. Let me just have a look at the list of villagers I've got, and I'll pick one to be a likely looking priest.
And if we don't have a dedicated one, we're going to have one of those lay people who just happen to be the most devout, and they bought the most complete religious text with them, and now they are the de facto priest.
Okay.
Dinky ass country priest.
Okay, so handily, I left a number of the priests with their jobs blank, so I could fill them in for just this sort of emergency. Okay, so I'm scrolling down the names. It's that one. Okay, so the priest of the village, and obviously he's a priest. He's not necessarily a cleric in terms of the class, but he's a priest. His name is Azariah Grove.
We should speak with Mr. Grove.
He says, yes, possibly. Like I say, I haven't mentioned it. I thought most people would think I was addled, but
yeah, I think you're probably right. But I suppose we'll have to speak with him anyway.
Okay, well, you can see it. Azariah Grove. He's obviously he's been sort of stood near the body, sort of overseeing proceedings as the priest. So, just to get you guys involved, Johannes, what does Azariah Grove, the priest of this village, look like?
Do you have a defined profession for this person?
Priest.
In your... Because I know that you rolled for... Unless this is
there's no... Not all of them have defined professions.
Yeah, okay, right. So... I'm gonna say he is getting a bit on the years, which by which I mean like his hairline is rapidly climbing up.
Okay.
However, he still has a fairly sort of robust stature to him. However, one hand, a hook or an equivalent attachment tool,
Okay.
and there's a he has a lot of burn damage on his body.
Okay. Lovely. Okay.
Because he was previously a blacksmith and things went wrong, lost his hand, burned a bunch of his body, and now is doing other things, among which I guess is tending to the gods.
Okay. So, Rob, what sort of priest is Azariah Grove? Is he like one of these sort of, like sort of Baptist
Holy
like
rollers?
preachers giving it that praise Jeebus, or is he like a bit more reserved? Like, if you were talking to, how would he come across as like a person? Like if you were speaking to him?
I kind of see him as a bit of a, because he wasn't always a priest, so he's not that kind of. It feels kind of more reserved, more kind of came to it late in life, and kind of fully believes in it, but it's not the. He's not there to try and make everyone the same, and see him as a kind of a little bit of a wheeler dealer type kind of doing that part, but also been able to kind of keep a lot of the stuff moving and making deals and that kind of stuff. Kind of filling in way more than just kind of being a relatively, I don't want to say timid, but kind of quiet and reserved.
Yeah, a bit more sort of like held back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, as you're talking to your frightened fellow, Oscar, you can see Azariah Grove. He stood there wearing his grey and white sort of like priestly vestments. Obviously, as we've now established, he has like a hook for one hand. And you can see, like, cause obviously there's a lot of villagers have crowded in here to pay their last respects. You can see that he's like talking with some of them, and he's just sort of saying, "Yes, it was a terrible shock for us there about Miss Bennett, but she led a good life, and at least she made it to see this wonderful land that has opened up in front of us. It is a shame that she won't live to see more of it, but she's with the angels now, so would that we should all be so lucky." And there's various. That's just a sample of the chat. He's just sort of like mingling, and he's staying near the body, but like, as people are coming up, he's just sort of like thanking them for coming, for paying their last respects, that sort of thing.
Is he referred to as father?
Yeah.
Father Grove.
Yep.
Just wait here a second, Mr. McGee.
Okay.
I'll move my way with trepidation towards Father Grove, because I don't know. Well, Oscar's not really sure whether he fears the undead rising, or the dead rising again, or this burly priest with a hook. So he'll approach with a strange smile, nervous smile on his face. Father, could perhaps we could you spare us some time when you have a moment? Over there.
He extracts himself like gently and with courtesy from the conversation he's involved in. He says, "Of course, my son. What is it that's troubling you? Have you come to pay your respects to the late Miss Bennett?"
Yes. Yes.
Yes, a terrible shame. Although I know she was long lived, but it's always a shame when a a font of wisdom and knowledge, such as Miss Bennet, passes away. Heaven's gain is our loss.
Well, you know me and a couple of friends, and I'll just point them out. A couple of the other men went over to Castlemaine last week.
I did hear something about the affair. Yes, some sort of a dreadful creature, wasn't it? I'd heard the reports that the settlement is now little more than ruins, which is a sad state of affair. I was actually speaking to the village headsman about whether once it's been cleared and is safe, of course, whether we could perhaps go over there and say some prayers for the people who tragically lost their lives in Castlemaine.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to mention. We came back with a gentleman, Mr. McGee, over there by the door.
Oh yes, the nervous-looking fellow.
Yes, nervous for a good reason, apparently. Well, if he is to be believed, and that's what I wish to speak to you about in private.
Well, yes. Where would you like to talk, my son? I'm always available and happy to speak to any members of the community about whatever troubles them.
Perhaps somewhere a little more private later around lunchtime. I need to speak to the other gentleman as well.
Well, yes, of course. He basically points to a spot on the edge of the village, and he said, "Well, why do we meet over there by that tree? Like say around about lunchtime, and then you can talk to me about whatever it is that's causing you such distress, my son."
Yes, okay. I'll look over at the dead woman with nervousness as well.
He sees you look over at her nervously. He obviously mistakes it for sadness that this woman has died. And he sort of very very gently puts his actual hand on your shoulder and a sort of gives your shoulder just a gentle squeeze, and
freeze rigid.
Yeah, he just gives your shoulder a gentle squeeze, and he's like, "There's no need. You're worrying about Miss Bennet. Does you credit, my son? But there's no need to worry about it. She lived a good long life, and she will be with the angels now." And then he obviously takes his hand away.
Good. I hope so. Yeah. Right.
Until lunchtime, then, my son.
Yes. Thank you. Bow and nod and move my way away.
And he turns and goes back to chit chatting to the villagers and doing his thing.
Right. Okay. I'll head over, collect Mr. McGee, and then head over to John Cameron.
Who goes at Oscar?
Oh, we may have a problem.
Oh yeah? What kind of problem?
A Walking Dead problem.
Walking Dead problem?
Okay, at which point, John Cameron, can you please roll me a d6?
Oh no.
You're alright, just don't get a 1, you'll be fine.
When has that ever happened, John?
There you go. So despite, as you say it, John Cameron being an undead problem, everyone else is too busy, chatting amongst themselves, bit of village gossip, and dearly departed and all of that sort of thing. So they don't overhear that. And to be honest, Oscar, you've been steering him away while you were saying this. So you'd sort of just got him outside. And he's like, Walking Dead problem. But yeah, no one's overheard you. It's fine.
Shush.
Sorry.
Mr. McGee was telling us, and I'll let him explain to you. I'll go and find Weimar. I'll go find Weimar.
Okay.
So I'll leave them till they're bobbed back in for.
Yeah. So you go back in to get Weimar. Whilst you quickly get Weimar and rejoin John outside. Horatio McGee has reiterated what he just told to Oscar to you, John Cameron.
Okay. And tell me, these undead, Walking Dead.
The what now?
Yeah, Walking Dead, apparently.
And
Did
I
they-
make the like walking motion. So
Did they attack anyone before they left, or did they just up and leave?
Well, they didn't seem to be attacking anyone at first, but then, as I was telling you, one of the villagers tried to sort of got in their way and tried to stop them leaving the village, and they slew him, and then he got up off the floor and joined them and carried on heading north. The three of them left the village, and none of us dared follow. I mean, we watched them heading north until we lost sight of them in the Whale Song Forest, but we didn't dare follow them. We thought it'd be an ill omen. And he looks a bit wistful and sad as he's obviously thinking about the fate of his village, and he's like, maybe we were right.
Indeed, maybe. And we should definitely look to make sure that New Zealand doesn't follow Castlemaine into the current state of ruin.
So I've arranged to have a meeting with Father at lunchtime. I think the four of us should be there.
So I'll drag the two boys aside and leave Horatio McGee kind of there for a second and just
He stood there on his own somewhat.
Are we sure this guy is not mad? With his talk of Walking Dead. Should we really be telling people that we believe in such a thing?
He looks genuinely scared to me, and
Yeah,
so
people-
some weird shit.
people see some things when they experience really bad things like you would have in Castlemaine. Could be in his head. Now, I don't know. I'm not really your sage to know about these things, but what I do know is when you see, let's say, things go wrong, as they do, when things like the bear creature comes up, starts clawing people down, eating them in front of you, there's a good chance that you're not going to be okay afterwards. It's just the way we're built. Like, it's... But I don't know. I'll like, I've seen things, heard things like this before from people who saw things they couldn't handle, and that's fine. And we should probably give him a place to stay here, where he feels safe, at the very least. But what do you think the father is gonna have to say about this?
I think he may have some more pertinent questions. Hopefully, he should know some scripture things about it. I don't know.
That would be the sagely thing that I am not versed in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. Just take that into consideration. Might be he's just broken. It's not unusual. Like, I've seen some stuff, and occasionally I can't sleep. But yeah. I guess the father will tell us what to do. Though I don't know, like, what's the recipe gonna be? Are we going to find, I don't know, wolfsbane, garlic, put it in with the coffin? I don't. What do you do when you're trying to not have a Walking Dead? Is it?
I
Okay.
think you burn the bodies.
Yeah, that's what he
That'll do it.
suggested.
That'll do it. I'll go chop some wood while we wait. I can do that much. I don't know if we're going to use it anyway, so Yeah. So he like gets his hand axe out and he goes to find the wood pile.
Yeah, that's fine. You're like chopping wood.
Yeah.
No one thinks anything of it because they're just
Yeah.
like, oh great, some chopped wood.
Yeah. Probably
Everyone's like cracking.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the plan, guys, you're going to wait until lunchtime and then speak to Father Grove? Or is there anything else you want to do before that meeting?
No, I'll just have Weimar chopping wood while we wait.
Okay, no problems. So we get round to lunchtime and Father Grove is waiting by the tree that was designated as the meeting point. You see, so he's got like his little like holy book tucked under one arm.
Okay. Shall I lead the conversation, chaps?
Yes. You are the wisest of us.
Oh dear, we're doomed then. Okay. Okay then. There goes. I'll steel myself. Good afternoon. Lunchtime, Father.
Good afternoon to you, my son. You said earlier that you wanted to talk to me about, so you wanted to unburden yourself of something. How can I help you?
Look at the others.
Tell him.
What does it say in your book about
Things that shouldn't be moving anymore. Things that have passed
he
on.
looks a little puzzled, and he's like, "I'm sorry, my son. I don't think I quite follow you."
I give him the motion of like dead, and then
He says, "Well, it's not a question I get asked very often, but that there are ancient tales about in the old days in Valcona," and he sort of gestures with his holy book sort of around at the landscape. But before our people had to leave, when those who dabbled in forbidden arts misused their talents, but before the great ice age had been brought onto Valcone, there are tales that there were people who wielded mighty and blasphemous sorcery that was capable of such things, and obviously there are cautionary tales of people who, through debauched or evil behaviour, open themselves up to possession by certain malevolent and devilish spirits.
We believe that Castlemaine has fallen to such a fate, and we are concerned.
He looks genuinely shocked.
We are concerned that Harriet may also suffer the same fate. And we believe that.
I'm sorry if I seem a little incredulous, my son, but all of the tales and the legends I've just told you about are old parables and are old tales from our holy books. I've never actually heard the like of anything happening from any reliable source within my living memory.
Yes, but we are only newly arrived, Father, and this land is not like any other. We ourselves have seen a bear that spoke with a human voice, and wore a skull on the outside of its skin.
that was not a good time. That was bad.
This is not a land like any other.
He says, I'm sure you are right, my son. After all, I shudder to think what blasphemies and vile perversions of nature still roam this land as payment for the hubris of our our ancient forebears dabbling in these devil sent sorceries all those years ago.
And tell me, Father, would you see fit to see Harriet what's the word? Oh my god.
Cremated.
That's the word. Cremated.
He looks shocked and he says, my son, whilst I'm willing to accept that this is a strange new land, we cannot cremate the body of poor Miss Bennet. After all, if she has no body, how will, when we all rise again at the end of days, how will she step into the light of the angels?
And tell me, how much worse would she be if she rose tomorrow?
Well, it is not for me to say such things, my son. I'm quite happy to take precautions and to have the body watched, but I cannot sanction desecrating the body by scourging it with fire. Normally we do so only under the direst of circumstances, when they're and I already know what you're going to say to this, my son, so please forgive me, but only when there is like an infection or a clear danger to those still living. And I appreciate that you were saying that if she does indeed rise again, she may be a danger to the living, but I cannot desecrate her remains based on such fanciful tales. And please do not think that I believe you are intentionally trying to deceive me. It's just I cannot go to the other villagers with such a fantastical tale and say that because of this we need to have our body consumed by fire.
Yeah, we need proof. We must wait then and watch her and be ready.
Okay, so what's the plan, guys?
So it's about lunchtime now, John, is it?
Yeah, just a little bit, a little bit after lunchtime. Now.
Okay. So, and from McGee's story, we believe that they rose kind of around midnight time, in the middle of the night.
He said as soon as it got dark.
Oh, as soon as it got dark. Okay. And I'm guessing it gets dark summer-ish, right? So it gets dark about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I would like to spend the day hunting, trying to build up our food stores, and then we should watch where the body is as darkness settles, and try and see what happens. And then I guess amongst ourselves we should decide whether, if McGee is right and she does rise, are we going to try and do something about it, or are we just going to follow her and see where she goes, knowing that there may be multiple creatures.
That's an interesting idea.
Okay, so in terms of your hunting, if you're spending the day hunting, roll me a d6, John.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I find anything except on a 6.
Okay.
Check.
Yeah, for tracking, isn't it?
So whilst Rob's looking that up, what are the rest of you doing during the day?
I'll be popping in and out looking at her. Does she have any relatives?
She doesn't appear to have any living relatives, no.
Right, okay. Well, there'll probably be someone around at all times, hopefully. If not, then I'll fill in the gaps when there aren't.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. there will be a few periods when there's like people not there, and you sort of keep an eye on the place, and when you notice that it's the hut's empty, you sort of like scoot in. And obviously, if anyone asks, you're just there paying your last respects. No one thinks anything weird about that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how about yourself, Wyman?
Yes, I could hunt as well, and I am a hunter by profession.
Okay. Roll me a d6.
A6.
Okay, so unfortunately you have not managed to hunt anything this day.
So I find it on a 5 or 6 chance of finding prey, but it doesn't seem to say how that turns into food or hides.
Okay, let me have a quick look then. Okay, so roll me another d6, Rob.
4.
Okay, so you managed to hunt and kill an animal that basically provide like 4 rations worth of food.
Okay. And can I skin it as well? Is there a roll for that, or do we just assume I get the skin?
Yeah, you can have the skin. That's fine. I'm assuming if you've got enough expertise to hunt it and kill it, you can skin it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're getting to around about 7:45 in the evening. The light of the day has just started to dim a little bit. The temperature has started to drop noticeably as obviously the sun's setting beyond the horizon. You notice like, the few people about in the village, most people are sort of starting to like settle in for the evening because there's no point being out and about and trying to do much when it's so cold. The few people who you do see about, you notice they've got like more furs on and more sort of like hard wearing clothes. But gradually, as you watch, you start to see like candles and sort of lanterns, etc., sort of be kindled in the windows of the various like sort of 5 big huts that make up the village of New Sealand. Obviously, there's no light in the sort of small, sort of serviceable like wooden hut that Miss Bennett's body has been placed in. As it starts getting dark, where are you guys going to sort of situate yourself?
Does the hut that she's in have a flat roof?
No, it has like a...
An apex roof, okay. Does it have like a porch?
No.
No, okay.
It's basically just like a small wooden hut with like a sort of thatched roof.
Yeah, okay. So I don't really want to spend hours on the apex roof. So I guess I kind of want to kind of hide at the side, kind of fully expecting her to walk out. I don't want to be in her line of sight, but I want to be nearby so I can get behind her. So I'm kind of just at the side.
Yeah, so tucking yourself into the side of the hut.
Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, how about yourself, Oscar? Where are you going to be stationed?
I'll be inside the house, I think, inside the hut.
Okay.
In a corner, some shadows.
Nice. One more.
Yes, I'm outside with a fire.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You've built a small fire.
Yeah, just a fire, nothing fancy.
Okay, so now where are you going to have like Mr. McGee? Because he's like very not keen on being near the building at all, but he seems to be like wanting to stick near you. Perhaps because like you guys rescued him once before, so he feels a bit safer around you guys. So
he's welcome to have. I guess we're doing some like root brew. I guess that would be the thing that we brew here from the local stuff. So that would be the thing that I'm doing out there all night. Just to have something warm. So
yeah, you get your like pine tea or like your root tea or whatever. Yeah. Horatio McGee will be quite happy. So like, obviously he's got furs on as well, but he's quite happy sort of like warming his hands by the fire and like just making general chit chat to you as you do that. Although so as he's talking, he keeps like nervously glancing at the hut, like especially, and then like looking up, and especially as it gets dark, like it's like glances are getting like more frequent. Okay, so as the only one inside the building, Oscar, you're in there when the last few fleeting rays of daylight disappear and darkness shrouds the village of New Seal, and the temperature is now extremely cold, and the wind whistles through the sort of small gaps in the planks that make up the walls of the various huts. You can hear that like sort of whistling as bits of wind come in, and then you hear a slight sort of creaking sound or a shifting sound, and out the corner of your eye you think for a moment you see like the furs covering Miss Bennett twitch slightly, but it's just out the corner of your eye, and when you look around at it there's no further movement.
Holding my breath.
You wait for a few minutes, then suddenly Miss Bennett just like folds at the waist and sits up. Her eyes are just staring directly in front of herself, and then slowly, with like no real sense of coordination, rather like a marionette puppet where someone had just grabbed a fistful of the strings and pulled it upright, she starts rising to her feet, the gravity causing the furs to just fall off her, and you can see the remnants of like a sort of night clothes that she died in, but she seems to have no care for the furs as they just fall off her, or no sense of the cold. Her mouth sort of hangs open, her eyes stare vacantly in front of her. She spins around almost with a sort of lurching motion, as though drunk or relieved of her senses, as though sort of like looking for something, and then she seems to sort of snap to face a particular point, which you know to be north. You don't know exactly what she's staring at, but she's obviously facing north, and then it's as though like some sort of like magnetic pull was exerted on her, and she slowly and uncoordinately starts staggering out of the open door of this small building. Obviously, John, you hear like the sort of lurching footfalls and the soft like in the snow as she lurches outside. You all hear Mr. Your unfortunately rescued fellow. You see Mr. McGee suddenly like, ah! As he turns around and sees her lurching out. While I'm obviously in the flickering firelight, you see this vacant, slack-jawed, still pallid with the greying pallor of death, this shambling figure, its bare feet dragging through the snow, seeming to feel no impact from the biting cold that you're only really comfortable in because of the warm embrace of your fire. This creature, whatever it might be, seems to care nothing for it. It staggers and lurches out of the building, and then again, as though it perhaps hears a call or is attracted in some way, it wheels around rather drunkenly until it's facing north, and then starts shuffling towards the outskirts of the village, heading north, seeming not to, it sways around and like must have seen you by the fire, but it doesn't seem to care. All it seems to be bothered with is going north. How do you all react? Obviously, you all know this is going on.
What do we do?
I don't know. Call the priest. Where's the priest?
Where is he? I'll appear in the doorway. Are we following it? Her? Sorry? Her?
Yeah, as you look out the door, you can see, and it's only like maybe 10 feet away from you, Oscar, because it's like moving so slowly and with such a lack of coordination. It's one of those like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back sort of job is, because it's like swaying and lurching about as it's moving. So it's only really sort of taking very slow footfalls, but its pace never changes. It never falters. It just keeps heading north. Doesn't matter if it goes through snow. It treads on. You see it tread on a couple of like sharp stones sticking out of the snow, which you know would have been quite painful. That doesn't seem to deter it. It just keeps going at this sort of steady but slow, methodical, lurching pace.
Okay, I can go get the priest. If you have torches, I should suggest you light them up.
Yeah, I can definitely light a torch off the fire.
Yeah, no problems.
So I'll get a log for my fire, and I'll go to the priest's house.
Okay. Just to let you guys know, it probably isn't relevant in this scene, but for future, a standard torch burns for about an hour, which is 6 non-combat turns, because non-combat turns are like 10 minutes each. But it's probably not going to be valid in this career, effectively like real timing it. So.
Okay.
But yeah, you just like you grab a torch and light it in the fire, not a problem.
So what I'd like to try and do, John, is with my rope, try and turn it into a lasso.
Okay.
And try and rope Harriet, and then with Oscar hopefully helping, I want to try and pull her back and stop her going anywhere, but stay whatever the 40 odd foot that we would be away from her.
Yeah, that's fine. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, can you make me a ranged attack roll? Obviously, don't worry about the damage. This is just to see if you can like loop her with the lasso.
11.
Yeah, that's fine. You obviously you've not got a great deal of time because you'll be getting out of range. So you quickly like knot it together, swing it round, throw it. It goes over her head. She doesn't seem to pay it any mind whatsoever. Slips down to her waist, at which point you obviously like pull it to tighten it, and as you say, presumably both you and Oscar have like grabbed hold of it. You don't find stopping her progress very difficult at all, because there's 2 of you and she's moving fairly slowly. She doesn't show any sign of realizing that she's now tethered, and just carries on sort of like trying to plod forward, but with you guys holding her back, effectively she's just sort of like shambling on the spot with this rope connecting you to her. Okay.
So we'll just hold on and wait for the priest then.
You were going to get the priest, Wymal.
Yep.
Okay, so as you head over to one of the sort of large huts that the priest lives in, you actually see sort of like he's already coming out of the door, perhaps having heard the scream from Horatio, and as he's coming out the door, he's like, "Oh, what's all the commotion about?"
It's one of those legends. Come this way.
At which point he looks past you and he sees obviously that the lasso and the lassoed zombie and you two holding onto it, and he's like, "Oh, saints preserve us!" And he goes with you, Wymal.
I don't know that they will, but I do have fire. But when we get close enough, I will just hand him the burning log. I'll get another one from the fire.
Yeah, he takes the torch off you. You're all torched up.
Yeah.
You see, like as you get like a bit closer to this zombified figure, it doesn't seem to show any signs of like noticing your presence even.
Yeah, it's completely oblivious to everything except the north.
Yeah, it's just sort of like trying to shamble forward with this rope. As you follow the rope back, you can see like John and Oscar like holding on to this rope, so like keeping her in the spot effectively. You see the priest sort of like moves in a bit closer, and he's looking at him. He's like, "Oh, dear Lord, this is an unholy thing."
If only somebody could have warned you.
Oh, you don't have to say that, John.
He says, my son, now is not the place for such recriminations. He says, my only concern is returning this poor good woman, and he gestures at the zombie, to a rightful rest. And he pulls out obviously a pocket prayer book effectively, and he immediately starts sort of reciting a number of prayers from it, which after a couple of minutes it becomes obvious isn't really doing anything. He's there and he's like, "And the Lord saith that thou shalt lie down and receive thy rest and thy just reward, and be rewarded by his angels in heaven." He's like moving around, sort of doing all of this and making various holy signs. And like I say, after a couple of minutes, it becomes obvious that's not doing anything. But that doesn't seem to be deterring him. He's still like, "And the Lord saith."
Is there a thick tree in town that we can tie the rope to?
Yeah, there's plenty of
Our end. Okay. So just tie it off so she can't go anywhere.
Yeah. No
and then I guess we should all get together and decide what to do about this.
Yeah, let's consider the options. You mentioned letting her go and following her. There's obviously some reason why she's heading north, other than she'd be in the sea if she went south, I suppose.
Yeah. My sense is that we shouldn't follow her in the dark. That would be unwise. So maybe we just wait until tomorrow and then we can release her and see where she goes. Or we could try and put her out of her misery and burn what's left of the body.
At which point you hear a loud cry as the priest, Father Grove, has been sort of circling round her, sort of saying these prayers. And as he gets to the point where he's in front of this creature, it suddenly lunges forward. It's still on the rope, but obviously there's a bit of give to rope. It suddenly lunges forward by only a few inches, and it rakes its hands sort of down the father's torso. You see him fall back into the snow, sort of letting out this gurgled scream, and you can just see in a sort of Gangs of New York style, you can see sort of him lying on the snow with this pool of red spreading out around him. So he's
Great.
His prayer book falls with a soft into the snow next to him. You see the red puddle spreading towards it in that cinematic slow-mo.
So I guess what I want to do then is try and get to him and get him and his book out of the reach of this creature.
Yeah, strange thing is you notice as it rakes him, and he sort of goes, "Oh," and falls to one side in the snow. Literally, as soon as he's not in front of the zombie anymore, it could not care less about him. It just goes back to ignoring his entire presence and carries on trying to shamble forward, which obviously it can't because of the rope. But yeah, you run across, you grab him sort of under the arms and grab his book. You've got hold of him. The zombie doesn't seem to care.
Okay. And is he dead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then suddenly you feel his body twitch in your arms. As he's sort of you basically, like I say, you've got your hands under his arms and you're sort of dragging him back with his legs trailing in the snow. Then suddenly his body goes almost like a sort of galvanic shock had run through his body, and you feel this sort of twitch go through his body as you're sort of holding him. How do you respond?
I kind of throw his body away because I remember McGee saying that people killed by these creatures also rise.
Yeah, you basically sort of throw him away from yourself and he lands face down in the snow. Then again, suddenly just lurches upright to his feet. You still see the wound, still leaking blood and fluids on his chest. His eyes are staring, his face is still in the expression of horror he was wearing when he died. And he starts again in this strange, jerky, uncoordinated movement, starts sort of shambling in the same direction that the first zombie's facing.
If, John, I get my bow out and just take all the time in the world, can I shoot the father in the head?
Yeah, I'm going to say that you don't even have to make an attack roll because, like I said, he's ignoring you. You could literally walk up right behind him and be like,
Yeah, that was the idea. Like go
Yeah.
like in a straight line with him walking. Just
yeah, just roll your damage.
the idea being, I want to hit the spine because I don't know what these things are, but I know that if they're a person, hitting the spine is going to be very bad for them. So, okay, here goes. Where's the? Oh, no, that's the. Here we go. 3 damage.
Okay, so you put an arrow into his back. It doesn't seem with that sort of like low damage roll. It doesn't seem to have like penetrated his spine. It does sort of like cause him to like throw his balance off a little bit, but he carries on sort of shambling forward without even trying to like right himself.
Yeah. Second arrow.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
Same again.
5.
Okay, this time the arrow like hits his spine dead on, and you like actually hear a snap as the arrow goes into his back, and it goes in deep. At which point he falls to the ground. You can see that his like legs now appear to be useless, but you can see that like even now he's like
still
pulling
going.
himself like forward very slowly. Although you can see that like a lot of like the motive power, let's call it, has gone out of this creature. It's like
I hand my longbow to if McGee is around. I'll sort of off the bow to him. It's like you take care of that now, and I'll get my short sword out.
okay. McGee sort of like shaking at first, but he's obviously, you can tell from as he takes it off, he's handled the bow before. You see him like he tries to like get himself together, and he's like,
Yeah.
lets it go. An arrow sinks into the back of the head of the priest, and the head just like slumps forward into the snow.
Okay. I put the sword back into scabbard. So,
What? Wait. We
Okay.
could
No,
use him.
No, that was the thing I was going to try next.
Obviously, the zombie of like Miss Bennett's still there, like attached to its rope.
Yeah.
Like.
So, do we burn the body now? And I sort of point at the corpse of the father.
I think if we're going to use the firewood, we should burn both bodies.
What I was thinking is we might have her nod towards our first and have her cut loose at dawn. See where she goes.
Okay, as you're doing this, you suddenly hear a loud bellicose voice from like one of the other buildings. So, oh my God, Harriet, you're alive! And you see like quite a burly, sort of like strapping man who you all know to be Homer McKay, who is like the sort of gunsmith of New Seal Land. And he's obviously like heard the commotion, come out, seen Harriet Bennett like with the rope around, they're sort of trying to move. And in the sort of like the low light and the sort of flickering shadows, he's like, oh my God, she wasn't dead, she's alive. And he's walking across and he's like, oh, saints be preserved me, Harriet, I thought you were...
Draw the sword. Draw the sword.
Keep back.
Like hold it up to him. It's like, no.
We have a situation.
You hold it up to him and he's like, there's no need for hostilities on such a
No, you
joyous
don't.
occasion as this, Mr. Longgrove.
No, it's not joyous. And I sort of motion with my non-sword hand at the priest corpse.
Oh my God, someone's killed Father Grove!
Yeah.
And then he looks around and he sees your man McGee holding this like bow and arrow, like. He's like, at which point he's like Homer McKay and like, oh my God, everyone wake up! The newcomers killed the priest! He starts shouting. At which point you hear like murmured voices from all the buildings around. So like people are like, what's that? What's going on? That's killed the priest.
I motion to McGee like, Put the fucking bowl down.
He sort of like he just like drops it in the snow.
Yeah, I'm still holding the gunsmith. At
Yeah.
bay with the sword, by the way,
Still stood like with his hands up like that.
'cause
Like,
he needs to stay away. So,
at which point, like the other villagers, like all looking like very sleepy, have started to like come out of the building. And like, what's going on? Someone's been saying that someone's killed the priest, and like a few people sort of like exclaim loud, like, as they see like the arrow riddled body of Father Grove like lying in the snow with his blood around it.
I guess
so I will
Yeah.
step forward and just say with my musket, kind of pointed in their general direction, to say that Miss Bennet has risen from the dead as some sort of unhorrid creature, and that she slew the priest.
Someone at the back of the crowd like, risen from the dead, poppycock!
And I'll indicate that they should come around and look at her face and see that she is not.
the fingers probably as well, because there was clawing. So
At which point, a few people do sort of like. I mean, you obviously you tell them to like give a wide berth after what happened to the priest, but a few people do move round to the front, and when they see the sort of vacant stare and the dishevelled, unnatural pallor of Harriet, a few people are like, oh my lord. Like, a couple of people look like visibly like they're about to be sick. But gradually the cries subside from like, oh my god, the newcomers murdered the priest, to sort of like the sheer like shock and horror of they can't deny the proof that you're showing them. I mean, they're like, oh rubbish, people rise from the dead, and you're like, here is a zombie. So they literally, you're like, we've roped it up for you specially, here it is on display, so that they can't really deny that. But obviously they're all dealing with it in their own way. Like, some people are just sort of like don't know how to react. They're just sort of like shocked. They've never heard anything like this. Other people are like slightly more sort of keeping it together a bit more. Like, oh, what should we do? Oh, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. Well, we probably can't just leave her like this, roped to a tree. And like that's the sort of general like hubbub that's going around the gathered village, and pretty soon like the entire village is like gathered. It's like even the people who didn't wake up initially like hear all these exclamations and the general furore outside and sort of come out to see what's going on.
So I guess myself and Weimar and Oscar will kind of take a step aside, and then so we think we should burn the priest's body and potentially release Miss Bennet in the morning and follow her during the day to see where she goes. It might be useful to damage her legs so that she moves rather slowly.
We'll wait until we get out of the village first. But yeah, I agree. We should follow her.
We've got a few people are like, what should we do, Josiah? What should we do? And they turn to Josiah. Means this sort of like, he's a bit older, but he's still quite muscular. He's an older man with like a bushy grey beard. He's like the headsman of the village, and he says, well, now I obviously we can't leave her as she is, but I have no great expertise with whatever devilry this is. It seems to me that, and he turns to the three of you. It seems to me that you've far more experience with this sort of devilry than I. And I mean no insult by that, but what would you suggest we do?
I suggest that we burn the body of Father Grove.
Notice
so
like a few people
doesn't
are
rise
visibly
again.
disturbed by that idea.
And I understand that upsets you, and it upset Father Grove, and we suggested that we do it to Miss Bennet. But there is no doubt that Father Grove will still be alive had he listened to us.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask, can you please roll me 2d6 and add your charisma modifier to it?
Okay, so roll 2d6.
Yeah.
4.
Okay, so the headsman Josiah Means is like, well, I see what you're saying, and it's hard to argue that obviously the good father has met a tragic end, but surely there's got to be another way we could lay him to rest rather than burning his body. I mean, we only do that when there's like plague and things.
Think of this undead curse as a plague, and perhaps he would be more comfortable.
He sort of throws his hands over and he says, do we have any idea what caused this? I mean, is this going to happen again, or is this an isolated case?
It happened in Castlemaine. It has happened here. It is our belief that something in the north calls these creatures to it. And it is our intention to follow Miss Bennett tomorrow to find out what might be causing these scenes. But these undead are potentially the undoing of Castlemaine, and we would hate to see them be the undoing of New Seal Land.
If you don't mind me asking, obviously the body of Miss Bennett was laying in the hut for several score hours before this. Do we have any idea how long it takes this to happen? And sort of gestures at.
We believe it happens at dusk, the first day after the body is the person passes. But we know that if a person is killed by the creature, they rise immediately.
He says,
as the father did.
He says, might I, since I still can't countenance the idea of burning people, might I suggest a compromise? Perhaps when a person dies, just to be on the safe side, if we bind their body with strong rope and we bury them deeper, perhaps with a stone atop them or something similar, would that suffice? Since it seems that this, he doesn't even like have a word for it. This seems to be the rope that's been used seems to be effective. Perhaps if we bound the bodies of the dead before burial, that would prevent them from digging their way out, I suppose. Would you think that would work as a compromise? I mean, you can already see how when you mentioned the mere idea of burning the bodies, how the villagers took it.
I do not know enough about these creatures to know that will work. I do not know how long this rope will, keep Miss Bennett here. It may last all night. She has been roped for all of 10 minutes. So, me and mine, we are aware of the risk and we are very unlikely to be slain by such a creature. But you and the townsfolk, are not as experienced as we, and there is a real risk that a creature of this nature, if the father rose again tomorrow night, that he could kill many people. And that those people would rise and then they could kill more people.
It's a good compromise for the time being, I think.
Well, what I suggest then is that we, if we should have the misfortune for anyone else to pass, that we bind their bodies, as I've said, and we perhaps place a guard over their grave for the first 3 nights, say, to make sure that they do not rise. How does that strike you?
Yeah.
And then perhaps if that is not adequate, perhaps then I will try and once again broach your suggestion to the rest of the village, because then at least I can say that we've tried other means before resorting to that.
Yeah.
Very well.
As Oscar says, it's worth a try.
Very well. And he turns around and he starts talking to the villagers, explaining that that's what they're going to do. And then he says, what about... and he gestures at the zombie that's still alive.
we will leave her here for as long as possible, and we will follow her when daylight comes, and see what evil calls to her.
Very well, if you think that's for the best. And at which point he nods and he starts turning to the village, and he's basically trying to like calm them all down, saying everything's well in hand. Everyone should go back to their beds, etc. And he's quite a persuasive fellow, obviously being like the headsman of the village. And he slowly starts sort of like calming people down and persuading them there's nothing to be done now, and everyone starts sort of slowly heading back to their beds. Or there's a few like rueful glances in the direction of the father's corpse and the still sort of shambling on the spot figure of Miss Bennet.
Do we have any really old people or quite ill people in the town at the moment?
Well, Harriet Bennet was the oldest. There's no like really old people.
All right, and there's nobody sort of like on the deathbeds.
Yeah, there's no one there with like a hanky like. Not at the minute, no.
Okay, well, at least perhaps there may not be any more fatalities while we're away. Well, I think I shall try and grab a little sleep and be ready in the morning.
That seems like a wise idea. Should we take turns keeping watch on her?
Yes.
Okay. I will watch her first if you guys want to get some sleep.
Right.
Okay.
If anything goes wrong, I will fire my musket. So if you hear a musket...
Sorry, go on.
So if you hear a musket, come running quickly.
All right. I was just wondering, as an aside, John, how often or when will the next supply ship be arriving? Supply vessel?
What, for your settlement?
Yeah.
There won't be a supply vessel.
Right.
The idea is you were basically like a sort of boat of pilgrims looking to like make their own way here. So there may be like other boats bringing pilgrims, or there's certainly probably like smugglers and pirates and the like. I mean, once there's more settlements, there might be sort of like more mercantile interests in the area, but currently there isn't.
Right. Okay then. That answers that one. Okay. It was just something to do with my backstory that I was wondering about. But,
Okay, so since you guys are all like resting for the evening, I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break there, guys. Use the facilities, refresh your drinks, etc. We'll come back in about 5 minutes and we'll pick up with the dawning of a new day. Okay, so back in 5.
Okay.
Shame about Father Isaiah. That was such a good priest name.
Yeah. Just cross them off my list of villages. Oh, that's cool. I've signed up to because I back Colin's like Patreon. I've signed on to like a game he's running for like his Patreon supporters, and it's the it's a guy running this sort of like OSR like Lovecraftian sort of game called Eldritch Tales, and the guy who's running it is just got like in touch with me, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I saw you signed on for the Pit Crew game. Just wanted to let you know ahead of time that I'm running the scenario you wrote for it." Quality.
Nice.
Okay, so we're all back. So you watch the zombie throughout the night in various sort of different stages. It carries on shambling, doesn't get anywhere because of the rope. Which of you is on the last watch? Up to you.
I went first, so it's one of the guys.
Yeah, it'll be me then. I'll get the most.
Okay, so Oscar, you're on the last watch, which means you're on watch as the sun starts to rise above the horizon, and as the first rays of the sun fall upon the shambling body of Harriet Bennett, it falls to the ground once more, seeming to be an inert and very, very dead corpse.
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, I'll be standing over her as John arrives.
Yeah. So as you got the rest of you guys start arriving, you basically find the dead body of Harriet Bennett, rope still around its waist, attached to the tree, and Oscar's sort of stood like looking a bit puzzled, like over it, like looking down at it.
Well, I might have a problem.
Well, what did you do?
Well, me. It was that thing up there. Sunlight, apparently. and sends it back to its
Okay.
inanimate state.
I would suggest we do what we need to do during the day, but we watch the corpse until sundown. See what happens.
Okay.
Very useful information, I feel like.
So it seems likely then that both corpses will rise at dusk.
I don't know. She is not damaged, so. But I suggest we watch this. We change nothing. We wait until dusk. See what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there anything if that's the plan, is there anything you guys want to do during the day?
I'll go hunting again if.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and the big idea being that during the day when someone else is doing the watch, I'd chop enough wood so that we can burn these corpses.
Okay.
If so becomes necessary.
So yeah, during the day, a few people have come up and they've sort of asked about Father Grove's body, because obviously they don't just want to leave him face down in the snow with like arrows sticking out of him.
Yeah.
But since they've all seen the sort of the headsman of the village sort of like deferring to you guys when during the situation last night, they're sort of a bit like, can we move his body?
Yeah, and I'm going to be like, if it doesn't move after sundown, then yes, we're going to burn it, and you're going to help me carry it over there.
So you
But
say
until
burn
then,
it,
we
like,
don't. Do you? Okay. So just wait until sundown. We'll figure it out.
okay.
No one touches anything until sundown. Okay.
Yeah, one of them starts to be like, oh, can we? And you're like, Okay.
We need to know how this thing works. Otherwise, we'll die.
Okay, now obviously John's been out hunting. However, Oscar and Weimar, you've pretty much had like a full day of rest. So if you're down any hit points, you can heal like 1d3 hit points.
I think I might be.
Because obviously you only get that if you have like a complete day of rest.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm one down, so I'll just heal that.
Yeah, boom, done.
Right.
Because effectively, listen, I'm not counting the chopping of the wood because you don't really gain any tangible benefit from that. It's just like a flavour thing.
Yeah, I'm not doing that 8 hours.
Yeah. But because basically you guys have just been chilling and been like, don't touch our body.
It's like hands off the corpse.
Yeah.
I can't believe I need to say it.
You guys have just been like sort of shacked up next to the body. It's been like, leave it.
Like, there's that one guy who's like inching closer, just like pretending not to look.
Just going to pull one of those out. Okay, so later on that evening, well, it starts to get dark, and as the last rays of sunlight disappear behind the horizon, the body of Harriet Bennett jerks upright and again begins its attempt to shamble northwards, restrained by the rope, obviously. The body of Father Azariah Grove does not rise.
Suggestion. We burn Grove's body, and then we try and see where Harriet would go. Take the rope, still attached to her, follow her, see what happens. Not to get like lost in the woods or anything, but just see like the rough, like where she's going.
If we keep the rope, then we won't lose her in the dark.
Yeah.
It's very true. And you know from your previous experience that she doesn't even seem to be like cognizant of the fact that she's got the rope around her. As long it basically seems from your observation, as long as like nothing directly gets in front of her, not bothered. Because as soon, like you say, with Father Grove, as soon as he fell to one side, it was just like it didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no object permanence at all.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like, I've killed you. So what?
Yeah, no distractions anymore, so that's good. So yeah, I'll like talk to a couple of the villagers. Like, let's get the fire going for Grove.
Okay. At this point, can you roll 2d6 and add your charisma modifier?
Moi?
Yeah. Because you're trying to persuade. Because they've got this deep-rooted religious belief that like you shouldn't desecrate or like burn a body, and you're like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that I was asking, but let's see how.
well, you're sort of saying, come on, guys, let's get this dealt with, and they're like,
yeah, we'll see how that goes. So. I'm trying to puzzle out the sheet here.
Well, I was going to say, I'd just type it in. Just do this 2d6 plus whatever your charisma modifier is.
Yeah. But the plus part is the one that's throwing me off because there's no place for that. Though I know that I have some shit going on here. And is the plus that you're referring to the NPC reactions value by chance? Or is that a separate thing? Because I have 7, but there's no place on the sheet where the modifier bit would go.
I'll tell you what, just do me a straight charisma roll, so just click on charisma. That'll probably be easier.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, it's probably baked in, right? That's why it doesn't show it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't seem to have a modifier. It's just rolling against the value itself.
Yeah, it's a standard like old school test. That's why they've not put the modifiers on, because they didn't really matter a great deal in that old school adventures, to be honest. Okay,
if your loyalty score is 7, you have no modifier, so it's just a straight 2d6.
Okay, yeah, well then the
it's fine.
Thing works.
Okay, so you're like, come on, let's get the fire, let's get Father Grove on it, and then they're like, look, we appreciate what you're saying, but we can't burn his body, surely. I mean, we've seen the evidence. Night has fallen. He's not risen. Can we not at least give the poor man a burial? I mean, we've not even taken the arrows out of his body.
Let's take the arrows out.
Okay. While he's taking the arrows out,
use them.
Again. About how comfortable you are having an actual dead man that walked just then. Right there as our neighbor, albeit underground a little bit. Do you think that's a good idea?
Okay, give us another charisma roll. Okay. Since you're making a very valid point, I'll let you read it.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, it's not. Oh, there we go. Well, getting there slowly. Yeah. Couple more tries.
You're slowly sort of talking them around, but they're still like they've gone from being just like, no, we can't do this, to being like, oh, isn't there any other way we can do this other than burning the body?
Okay. I'm not trying to be difficult here, right? I'm very conscious of the fact that she, I pointed at Harriet, scratched him, pointed at the father.
I like to imagine just as you're doing that, Oscar's like...
Get ready to shove it back in if it moves.
Less than 10 heartbeats, he was up again and off to the woods, like she is now. If we're having, let's say, the solstice, we're having solstice. Someone gets the scratch, whatever that is, less than 10 heartbeats to get the next one to be that way. I'll point at Harriet again. I'm not your engineer, right? I'm not a sapper. I don't do the big numbers, but there's not a lot of us here. And if we lose half or all of us to whatever this horrific thing is, because it happens just like this, like I could take longer with my sword to kill us all than this just did, or could, I guess. So I'm just being very conscious of the fact that we're basically sitting on, or would be if we put him in the ground, we're sitting on a thing that could kill us in like less time than it would take for me to, I don't know, eat a rabbit. And that makes me slightly nervous.
Okay, at which point the Josiah means the headsman of the village steps up and he says, listen, I know this is unpleasant. I can't claim to like this myself, but like many of you, I have a wife here. We hope to have children here. I'm sure the father, were he still with us, would understand us taking all necessary means to protect our families and this settlement as a whole. But should there be a stain of sin on anyone for this necessary act, I would not see it fall on anyone else, since I am the headsman of this village. I will take the body of the father and I will burn it.
No. You're the headsman. That's right. However, I'm not putting this on you. So you're saying this. I'm saying it as well. If we can still be friends, or at least live together here, I'm willing to take care of this thing for us all. And if that's a sin, or if you decide that I'm not welcome in your house to hold your kid or whatever, that is okay by me, because this is a thing that I think we need to do. So, okay. Is it, John? Are they... What's the sort of very quick read on the crowd? Like, are they going in with more like, oh, the scriptures tell us not to do this, or are they more like he was our friend, like we don't want to mutilate our friend's body?
Yeah,
like, are they secular or more like religiously motivated?
It seems to be more a religious thing.
Okay.
But with yourself and the headsmen sort of both like discussing this openly in front of them, they're slowly starting to accept, especially with him saying like, and you saying like, look, this is a danger to your family. This is how little time it takes for this to like spread and affect more people. They're slowly sort of coming around to it. I mean, they don't like it, but they're starting to accept the necessity of it.
So,
well, there was provision in the book for situations of plague and disease, and I think this is one of those cases.
Okay, make me a charisma roll, Oscar.
Yeah. Also, just to note that I'm not trying to like go around these failed rolls. I'm just like
it's fine.
I'm just banging on.
Yeah, no, the rolls are literally there just to give me an idea of how they're initially responding. Yeah. If you can talk them around, you can talk them around.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been successful, Oscar. So what are you saying to them that's going to sort of like push them over the final step of accepting that this has got to be done?
I've got the book.
Yeah, so I think perhaps you've picked up that Father Grove's book, like that was with him when he died. Maybe there's like a dramatic speckle of his blood on the cover of it.
In the book, it says we should bury our dead, but it also says in dire circumstances such as these, then cremation is the only way, and their souls still will be taken to see the Great One in the afterlife.
Okay, so with the combination of you saying that, Weimer making some like very salient points, and the headsman sort of going like, yeah, they're right. The people sort of slowly start to accept it. the headsman, Josiah Means, turns to you, Weimar, and he says, I believe your friend is correct, that this should be treated as a plague or a sickness. If you are willing to burn the bodies, and he sort of raises his voice deliberately so that the people in the crowd can hear him rather than just you. He says, let it be known that as the headsman of the village, I certainly bear you no ill will nor malice, and I would go further and say that you have performed a valuable service that has preserved the lives of many in this village, and you would be welcome to sit at my house and my table. And then sort of almost like ceremonially, because I'm assuming you guys have got like a bit of a fire going, almost ceremonially, he like lights a torch and sort of like obviously very slowly so other people can see him doing it, he like hands it to you.
Yeah, I'll take it. And I guess we'll, with I guess slower motions, because we're trying to be reverent, in like more reverent than Weimar would have been on his own. Like if no one had been here to look at this,
get in the ditch, like, get the oil on you.
Fucking toss him on. Just like pour the oil on. But I will attend decorum here, and we'll lay him out on the, because I've been chopping some wood here for this specific purpose, laid out so that a person could be laid on there.
Yep.
Get him on there, and then because I've prepped basically 2 cremation spots here. Just slowly, I'll hold up the torch and then slowly lower it down. Halfway, I'll go, wait, Oscar, do you want to have a? Is there the chaplain back home used to maybe say a word of read,
Yes.
Not a long one, but something.
I'll grab the book and flick through at random to a page and read out 2 or 3 lines, and then slam it shut.
Yeah, so you like hold the torch up, and he's like, and the wolf shall lie down with the lamb in fresh green pastures.
Yeah.
Sounds very relevant. Down with the torch.
No problem. So while this is going on, John, you notice that Josiah Means, the headsman of the village, has sort of spoken to like the woman who's the red-headed woman who's next to him, to be his wife, Rose Means, and he's whispered something to her and sort of gone like that, and she's like headed off back to the building. As the torch is lowered and like people are sort of gathered around and the body's being consumed, you see her like walk back out, and she's carrying like a very simple sort of like wooden like platter with like some wooden mugs on it. There's like a glass bottle with wine effectively in it, and like a big like loaf of bread on it. And she walks up and she hands it to Josiah, at which point, as the bonfire's going now, consuming the body of Father Grove, the headsman of the village stands up and he like sloshes a load of this wine into these like cups, and he says, Now that what needs to be done has been done, let there be no ill will between anyone gathered here, for are we not all brothers and sisters in this land which, although our forefathers knew of old, is new and undiscovered to us. Let us not remember this incident as a horrifying incident, even though it was such. Let it rather bring us together in bonds of brotherhood. And he like starts passing these cups around and like tearing off bits of this bread and passing it around, and everyone's like solemnly eating a bit of this bread and like having a bit of a drink together. And he very obviously, like so that people can see, like walks over to you, Weimar, like pours you out some of this wine, hands it to you, and then like hands you a chunk of this bread.
Yep, I'll take them, being aware of how morale works from my soldiering days. So yeah, I'm picking up on what he's putting down, and I'll take his offerings and sort of toast to him, and then I'll actually on a whim, I'll like bite down on the bread, bring out like a eating knife, and just like tink on my cup a little bit, and
Yeah, people are like,
we all need to live. That's it. At the end of the day and at the end of the night, we just need to live. And it's not always going to be easy. And I hope we all make it. And I'll do my best to make it so. I'll cheers the crowd, so to speak.
everyone looks like a little bit like they don't really know how to respond to this. You see a few like sort of sad nods, and then a sort of yeah, you say that a thin sort of gangly man with a sort of like a large hook nose, you know, to be Isaac McDaniel, who's like the village carpenter. He steps forward and he like raises one of these like wooden mugs in your directions, and he says, "Here's to living."
I'll
A few other people like raise their glasses over. Yeah. It's still quite a solemn affair. Everyone sort of raises their glasses and drinks. After that's dealt with, again, people slowly start sort of dispersing back to their homes. Obviously, you've still got the one tethered zombie.
So, off to the woods.
Indeed. Is there a moon out, John, or is it like totally black, dark?
There is a bit of moonlight, but it's partially obscured by clouds. Okay. But when the clouds part, there is a little bit of moonlight. Yeah.
Okay. So, is it strong enough to walk by to follow her, or do we kind of we're not following her because obviously we have the rope, or do we kind of need enough torches to get us all the way through the night?
You'd be all right as long as you like didn't go into any like deep forests or anything. In the open, you'd be all right.
Okay. Right. So, I guess what we'll do is we'll pick up 8 or 10 torches to bring with us, just in case we need to go anywhere dark, and then we'll just head off.
Okay. So, hopefully you guys can see the red map pin where you guys are currently in New Zealand. So, over the course of the evening, with you following after this shambling corpse on the rope, it travels north for 12 miles. Obviously, it's going at a fairly slow pace. Let's see if there's any random encounters on the way. Oh, there is. Let's see what we get from this.
Look at Mr. Fancy macros here.
That's something. Don't mess about.
Custom.
Ooh, yeah. So let's see, we're in plains. 6. Okay. Right, fair enough. Okay, so you guys have been travelling for most of the evening. Sunlight starts to filter over the horizon. As soon as the rays of the sunlight hit the animated corpse, it once more becomes inert and just like onto the snow. You're just about to like presumably move up to it or get ready to settle in, whatever you decide to do, when you notice a slight, well, I'll tell you what, maybe a surprise roll to see if you do notice anything. So basically you just need to pick one of you guys to like make a surprise roll. If you get a 1 or a 2, you're surprised. And it's a d6 roll.
I just rolled.
Yeah, you're not surprised. So let's see what the older encounter distance is. So we're in the wilderness. I'll make a macro for this when I get a chance. Okay, so as you're how do you guys react when the body just goes?
guess we'll have been expecting it, right? Because we'll have seen the dawn coming.
Yeah. You're not surprised by that.
I guess like I would just be like reeling in the rope.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there we go. That's our spot.
And I guess we'll be looking for somewhere to get some, 5 or 6 hours kip before we.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as you guys are just sort of like, settling down, obviously you've secured the body, that's absolutely fine. You've roped it to a tree or whatever, just in case. As you're just about settling down for the day, bizarrely enough, you're sort of settling.
Yeah,
presumably you guys are going to sleep during the day and travel at night. I'm assuming. You're just about to settle down for a nice day of rest and that sweet D3 hit points, when you spot sort of like up ahead of you, probably about 150 yards away, you see what appears to be a very small man. He's carrying like a little short bow. He's wearing furs. Like I say, he's quite small. He's like 4 foot tops. He's wearing sort of like white furs, and all of his hair, including like his eyebrows and like his beard, are purest white. Now, as you guys spot him, he doesn't actually seem to have seen you guys. You can see like it looks like he's trying to like follow some tracks or something, and he's got like an arrow in his bow, and he's just sort of like, as you're there, he's sort of like crossing the path in front of you between the wolf forest and the whale song forest. So from the forest on the east to the forest on the west, he's moving through the open, sort of following these tracks. But he's not spotted you guys. You're just over like a little rise of snow.
So what I'd like to do is kind of move 30 or 40 feet to the right of where everyone else is.
Okay.
And assuming I can do that without drawing attention to myself, I will call out, how's the hunting? See what he does.
Okay. You call out, how's the hunting? And you hear something shouted back in a language you're not familiar with.
Oh. Okay. Does he look angry, or?
It's difficult to tell because he has these like massive bushy white eyebrows and like this massive beard, so you can really only see like that much of his face, and then he's got like long white hair.
Okay.
He looks a bit like if someone took like a tiny caveman and like crossed it with Father Christmas. That's a bit what he looks like. And like say, he's got all these big bushy furs on, so you can't really tell. And he sort of hunkers down as soon as you shout him, and you just hear these sort of these guttural sort of syllables shouting at you that you don't understand.
Okay, so since he hasn't shot me, I want to put my rifle away and kind of walk towards him, kind of with my hands out in a kind of peaceful gesture.
Okay, as you walk to him, you can see he has got like his arrow and his bow, but he's sort of pointing it at you, but he's not like, he's got it tense, but he's not like shot at you. And he's like, "Game on, Nam Jam!"
And I'll just call out, "Do you speak the common tongue?"
He repeats what he said.
Okay. So assuming I can get close enough to him, what I'd like to do is kind of offer him some food, and see if he's willing to take it.
Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. You hold out like one of your like rations or whatever towards him, and he sort of slowly lowers his like say he's quite small, like say he's like under 4 foot. He like lowers his little short bow, and he's like, and then he like, grabs it off you, and he's like, and then he slowly starts like eating this ration. Once he's assured himself it's like not poison or anything.
Okay.
At which point he sort of like he pretty much like drops his bow on the floor and he's just like.
Okay. Okay, so then I guess what I want to do then is try and explain that my name's John and ask him what his name is. You know, that pointing at myself saying John. Dancing with Wolves style, you know.
He looks at you a bit bewildered, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
At this point, you can make me a monster reaction roll, if you will. So that's 2d6 plus your charisma modifier, which I'm hoping it's got the NPC reaction modifier on the character sheet. Because that'd seem really weird if it hasn't.
Okay. Is it on the character sheet, or do I just roll 2d6?
I'm just having a look now, see if it's on there.
I think it's not on the character sheet, but we talked about that during the character creation, and I distinctly remember John going through them because I did mark my own NPC reaction thing.
Okay, so
down.
what's your charisma?
Sorry, the 7 is the my reaction
-1,
is 7.
10. Oh,
Which I think 0, right?
because my charisma is 7, and John said that my NPC reaction modifier is -1.
Yeah, so it's -1 if it's 7.
Okay,
So
so my charisma is 10. Sorry, my charisma is 10.
Okay, so that's just a straight 2d6.
Okay. 9.
Okay, so with a 9, he just looks at you blankly. You're like, my name's John. What's your name is?
Okay. Okay, so
He like, cause obviously you're like taller than him. He sort of holds his hands up and he's like, "Come back, Ram Jam."
okay, is he like suggesting that I kneel down? Is that
He just seems to be
Like-
like reaching his hands up to you.
so? I can't really see what you're doing with your hands because
Yeah, he's just like reaching his hands up like that.
Okay, so I guess I'll kneel down beside him and see what happens.
You kneel down next to him and he's like, and then he starts sort of like, he's like, sort of starts like, not in a violent manner, but starts like taking hold of your clothes and he's like looking in your pockets and stuff like.
Okay. And what does he have on him, gear-wise? Is he?
He's wearing fairly crude gear. It's mostly like furs. He's got like a little sling with some arrows in it. He's got like a short bow. Other than that, it's just furs, pretty much.
Okay.
Like I say, the main odd thing about him is like he's got these massive like bushy white eyebrows and like beard, and like all of his body hair appears to be like entirely white.
Okay. So I guess I should I want to kind of gesture for him to follow me and bring him towards the body of Harriet.
Okay, no problems. So obviously, Weimar and Oscar, you've seen this sort of bizarre pantomime scene unfold in front of you, and then John starts bringing this strange sort of small white-haired figure towards the now inert body of Harriet. What are you guys doing while this whole bizarre panoply is unfolding in front of you?
Well, I'm putting my arrow away that I have had not since it seems that we're good. And
Yeah.
Just waiting, and I'll nod to recognize that this individual has joined us when they get here. But I'm sort of not very subtle about the fact that I'm standing guard because you're different, you're new. But yeah, I'm not doing anything specific. I'm keeping my eye on your friend.
Yeah. I'm just smiling a welcome as he comes over.
The small figure follows you up to the body, John.
And I guess I just want to kind of point at the body and then point north, and just see if he recognizes why a dead body would be moving north, or if there's any.
Okay. At which point the little figure looks a little puzzled, then sort of seems to go like, and then it rushes towards the nearest tree and starts like digging with its hands in the snow.
Okay.
At which point it like digs out like a fairly sizable rock, sort of carries it back over, so like stood near the body and goes,
Oh.
and is obviously intending to like smash the rock down on the head of this.
Okay, so I'll try and take the rock off him.
Yeah, you just like grab hold of it. I mean, it's like,
I just say that we are going north. Again, just pointing at the three of us and then pointing north with this creature.
the little figure sort of shakes its head and says another few of these syllables in what sounds like a slightly more muted tone, and then it walks off to the west, like heading towards the forest.
Okay. Okay. I think we need to get better with languages.
Well,
I'm working on it.
he had the good.
Bye.
He had good ideas.
Yeah.
So
He's obviously
good.
familiar with that concept.
Yep.
So that's something. And there are other people living here, which is something else. So
Yeah, this thing's pretty good. Interesting look about him, though.
yes.
I wonder what that's about. Or if he was just really old, but I guess he wouldn't be out and about.
It seems unlikely.
Aside from like his small size and the white hair, the bushy eyebrows, etc., he looked like he was in fairly good shape and not of advanced years.
Yeah.
That's what made the white hair and everything look even odder. Because like, if you'd been an old man, you'd have been like, yeah, white hair, that makes sense.
Camouflage. Small bodies, less surface area. Covered in fur, keep him warm.
Okay, so are you guys resting up for the rest of the day and then pushing on by night?
Yeah, I'll be reading the book.
So. Okay. No problem. You carry on reading Father Drove's prayer book.
I think there may be something in this. When I get back, I may take over his position.
It's not the strangest thing that's happened this session.
Yeah, and there is a vacancy now.
I'll say it's probably near the top, but okay. So obviously, since you guys haven't really done any activity during the day, you'd regain your 1d3 hit points for resting during the day. Unsurprisingly, as night begins to fall, the corpse once again rises and continues its shambolic progress north. So I'm going to find the right thing. I'm going to reveal the next hex. There we go. Okay, so you make it to here because the body's still not moving very quickly. There are no random encounters to vex you during your travels this time. However, just as like you're getting to the end of the night and you've seen like light start to hazily filter over the horizon, and you're like, any moment now the body's gonna drop down and like do its thing. You notice just before that happens, the body, which has been like sort of heading unerringly north, suddenly like turns and takes a few steps towards like the northwest, and then obviously the first rays of the light hit it again. Down into
Following the river, in that sense.
Pretty much.
And just to make it clear, if it continued along that trajectory, would it cross the river or go along with it?
It would cross the river if it carried on going
Cross
northwest.
the river.
Looking to the northwest in like the new light of the day, you could obviously see to the east of you is the wolf forest still, this huge coniferous forest. Looking to the northwest, you can see what appears to be a range of like rolling hills, sort of rising up out of the landscape, obviously covered in snow. I'm going to make a quick roll to see what the weather's doing, so we've had a couple of days past that. Okay, so the weather has actually sort of like warmed up a little bit. So you're starting to find it like a bit more comfortable travelling. You know, like you've not got to be as heavily swathed. There's still a bit of a light wind, which is like blowing the snow on the floor around and stuff like that. But compared to like how it could be, it's pretty much a gentle breeze. But the temperature's like risen to sort of like 11 degrees Celsius.
I don't know if we want to go following this thing across the river.
What do you suggest? Can we tether it somewhere and come back another day?
I wouldn't leave it.
It might get eaten.
You'd probably burn it. The villagers won't be happy back home, but
We can just tell them we lost it.
yeah.
It got away.
Yeah.
My sense is that we should really know what's causing this to happen.
Yeah, I'm of the same mind. However, it does make me think. About making our way back from wherever we might be going. The river won't make that easier.
No, but we could build another boat.
That is true.
And you know, if we went across the river onto the far side and we left the boat there, when we got back, we could actually travel south on the boat.
I guess what I'm thinking is, if we get up to them hills and we crest the first one, and there's Castlemaine and the sailors from yonder boat wrecks and who knows what else. Maybe some of them with the white hair and the beard. What if there's, I don't know, a battalion of these things there?
We would only have to survive the night, though, right? Because they fall asleep during the day.
Oh, sorry. Just to point out, guys, since you've been like travelling for 2 days, you'll need to like do 2 rations each. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah, I'm keeping track. I'll take care of it all.
Cool.
Aside from that, yes, I think it's, if we can find a source, even if there's multiple, if we can find where this is coming from, I guess that would be very valuable. It's just that I'm thinking, what if over the next hill there's an entire village of this?
Yeah. But why don't we follow her again tonight? And if she goes into the mountains, we can potentially, scout them out in advance. Scout out the direction she's walking in advance during the day. And I can do that while you watch her
Right. Okay. Yes, that's good. Yeah, I can watch, and you can range.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. So that we don't walk into a really bad situation.
Yes. Or if we do that, we walk in during the day and we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
potentially walk out afterwards.
Yeah. At least it won't be this bad situation. I motioned at the corpse. It'll be something else during the
Yes.
day, presumably. Hopefully, there's not a variety in the hills that goes about during the day. That would be not good. Okay, so John, I think we have our plan here. So.
Okay, no problem. So you guys rest up for the day. Obviously, again, D3 hit points.
Right, we're actually going to spend the day building a boat.
Right.
All right, okay.
That is,
Sorry, we'll get enough rest that we're not exhausted, but I think our plan
Yeah.
is to spend the day building a
Yeah.
boat to get across the river and to get us back to New Zealand at pace should the need arise.
That's fine. You've got an entire day. There's ample material in the forest. Let's make a quick roll, see if there's any encounters during the day. There is not. So yeah, you harvest the requisite wood. You fact, obviously it's not a massively sophisticated boat, but you make yourself a simple boat. That's not a problem. There's 3 of you.
I'll also do a bit of foraging while we're gathering the wood, if that's okay
Yeah,
too.
go for it.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got your boat. You've taken time to rest during the day. Once again, darkness starts to fall, and as previous, as soon as the last rays of the sun have faded, the body of the unfortunate young woman you've been following sort of jerks upright, and this time begins heading off northwest. It travels for 6 miles until it sort of gets to the edge of the river, at which point it doesn't even stop, it just goes straight into the water.
okay, on the boat with the rope. And
Yeah, not a problem. After what seems like an interminably long wait, you see the corpse sort of water pouring out, it probably like a few fish like attached to it, sort of slowly shambling its way up the riverbank, still heading northwest towards this range of hills. Obviously you guys go across in the boat following it, that's not a problem. As it sort of starts reaching the edge of where these hills are rolling up, the sun starts rising again. Once again the body hits the deck.
yeah, I think that's your cue, Cameron.
Okay, so once the body hits the deck, what I want to do is walk forward the 12 miles that I expect her to walk tomorrow night, and see if I can see any tracks or any sign of anything untoward.
Okay, in which case, let me, since you'll technically be going into 2 hexes, I'll reveal them. Apologies, it takes a while on the reveal with this polygon reveal tool. There we go, boom. Okay, so you'll effectively sort of be about here. If I clicked on the right tool. Yeah, so you'd be effectively about here sort of with your scouting. So you basically, you head over this range of rolling hills, and they eventually start rising higher into sort of the jagged peaks of mountains. Obviously you don't climb the highest of these mountains, but you sort of head part way up, some of them enough to just get a bit of elevation so you can see over the hills and survey the surroundings. As you look to the south, you can see more mountains, and then beyond that, still mountainous and hilly, but it appears to be like covered in like a green and white covering of coniferous forests. As you look to the north, you can see what appears to be a large lake, in the centre of which is an island, and on that island is what appear to be the ruins of some sort of ancient castle or fortification. You see no signs of life within the ruins, although it's possible there could be. Because, I mean, you're looking sort of over like 12 miles. So
Yeah.
but it's obviously like ruined. It's like not like a full working castle. It's like a crumbling like one. And beyond that lake, more mountains.
Okay. So I will head back to the party and explain that basically what I've seen. My immediate sense is that they're heading for this island.
Can you please roll me a d6, please, quickly, Rob?
3.
Okay, so you start heading back to the others. As you're getting to about sort of here, you're just heading back down from the mountains into the hilly areas. You're not quite sure because there's a lot of echo amongst the mountains, as you'd expect. But you think from somewhere to the south, you can hear like the sounds of like shouting, but it's quite far away and indistinct. So from somewhere around this sort of region, you can just sort of like catch sort of like the stray shouting of like voices.
Sorry, did you ping the map?
Yep, back here.
Sorry, I'm not seeing it. You mean 17014 or 17015?
Let me try a slightly different tone.
Okay. Okay. How long does it take me to cover 6 miles?
Well, you can travel 24 miles in a day.
Okay. And I've done almost 18 already.
Yep.
Okay. So then I will just head back to the party.
That's fine.
And tell them about the Witch's Isle or the Castle Ruins I've seen there and the voices I heard in the mountains.
Indeed, and you'd obviously recognise it as the Witch's Isle. You've all heard the rumours. So you guys, obviously John comes back, he tells you what he's seen. He says that he thinks he's seen Witch's Isle with like this ruined castle on it. Obviously, but the noises sort of heard while he was travelling through these mountains.
A proper castle, you said?
No, it's a ruin. It's a ruin.
But I was thinking, the walls and everything, moat, towers, the castle itself. Is it big? Is it a fort? Is it a tower?
It's more sort of, from what you've seen, it's more like a collection of buildings that would have been once inside the perimeter wall of a castle, right. And there's only like a few bits of the perimeter walls remaining, and now like there's the ruins of the buildings inside it. So to be honest, you can only really tell it's a castle from the few remnants of this like exterior wall that has survived.
Well, did you see corpses?
I didn't see anything. So I heard some what seemed like shouting to the south, kind of directly west from where we are now. And my immediate guess is that this room is the only thing I've seen in that general direction, and I think it makes sense to assume that this creature will go there. And my sense is that she will travel 12 miles to the coast of the lake, and that from there she will potentially go out to the island. So I think that we should follow her for one more night and see if she does go out to the island. And then, because if we wait until, so she travels all tonight, and then we wait there, and as soon as she goes into the lake, we will know, and then we can move away from that location, and come back during the day.
Okay, yeah, might as well.
And if she goes somewhere else, then I guess
Yeah.
we'll reevaluate.
Might as well. We came this far. Have we food?
Yes, plenty of food.
Okay, so are you guys all resting up during the day again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you rest up for the day. When the evening comes, as predicted by Mr. Cameron, you watch as the corpse heads northwest for 6 miles. It then once again wades across the river to the north, and as you correctly predicted, just as the sun starts rising above the horizon, it's just getting towards the bank of this lake, at which point the sun's rays hit it and it falls down to the ground inert. At which point, can you all please roll me a d6?
Five for me, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Okay, as you're following the corpse to the bank of the lake, as you all look northwards across the fairly still cold waters, you can see the ruined remnants of this exterior wall of this castle and the few surviving remnants of the buildings that would have been on the interior and the bailey of the castle. As you're looking, Oscar, just as the sun starts rising over the horizon, you think for a few seconds you see a figure wearing sort of fur and ragged robes, holding a sword and a shield, which the sun sort of glints off, sort of stood on the wall. However, the sort of glint of the sunlight causes you to sort of shield your eyes, and when you look back, the sun having risen, the figure is nowhere to be seen.
Did any of you two see that? I'm sure I saw
Do what?
somebody, looked like a knight or something. Had a sword and a shield, although if he was wearing rags, can't see him now.
No.
Oh, this is a long way. I could have been mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think, whatever the situation is, I don't think we're going to find knights here, per se. So whatever it might be that looks like one, I wouldn't say that it probably is one, though.
Yeah, it could have been someone carrying a stick and a basket or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of reflections, of course, but it is, I guess, or it was, a castle. So I guess someone could have found some. It would have to be really old, though. I don't know that did they make things that would last this long back then? For someone to find them now and gear up?
Well, I would imagine so. The ruins that they built Castle Mine on, they'd lasted that long. They were stone, granted, but they were exposed to the elements. If something was buried, hidden, perhaps it could last longer.
And I guess if all this truly was ice, I guess it wouldn't have been. It would be very dry, I guess. Then so maybe it wouldn't rot or rust, I guess.
as you're having this discussion, sort of amidst the rolling hills, your conversation is disturbed by this loud braying / bleating sound. And as you look around, you can see a short distance to the west is what appears to be in the sort of area it's just started to get a bit mountainous, is what appears to be a small horned goat grazing on the sort of scrubby vegetation and grass. It sort of looks up at you momentarily.
Okay, so thinking to myself that looks like dinner. I will. How far away is it?
It's not that far away. To be honest, if you want to shoot, it's a herd animal. If you want to shoot it, I'm not even going to make a roll. That's fine.
Okay, well I'll shoot it.
Yeah, not a problem. You shoot this goat.
Okay. Cool. So I'll walk over and pick it up and bring it back, and over the course of the day I'll skin it and see what meat can be taken from it.
So we'll just treat this as a normal sort of foraging roll. So it'd be roll a d6, and that's how many like rations worth you get.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's a normal goat. It has a sort of dappled, like light brown, sort of grey white coat to it. Obviously camouflage in the mountains and the snow, etc. Perfectly normal small goat.
Okay.
Do any of you, aside from John goat hunting, do you guys do anything during the day?
I guess I could go out for a hunt, like an actual hunt.
Yeah. You've got a 1 in 6 chance, so roll a dice.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, let's see if...
Now, can you refresh my memory regarding the professions?
Yeah.
Because mine is hunting.
What I'm saying is if you've got a profession, it's sort of like doubles your chance, so you'd have had a 2 in 6
Right,
chance.
okay, yeah. Good.
Okay. So,
Okay, so
obviously that'll take you a few hours, so I'll do a couple of random encounter rolls. See if you get anything. Okay.
Two orcs, one chimera.
Oh, that's odd.
Chaos sorcerer.
Okay, can you roll me a d6 to see if you're surprised? Anything but a 1 or a 2, and you're good. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll roll 1 for this thing. Okay, so neither of you are surprised. So you're out. Obviously, this is like 200 yards is like the distance when you
Right,
both sort of
okay.
notice
Not
each-
damage. Then.
No.
Or creatures.
No, it's good. It's not that good. Okay. So, as you're sort of making your way around, you're hunting, you're trying to follow animal tracks, etc., you spot in the distance, sort of itself seeming like it's like hunting and following trails, perhaps the same ones you're following. You see what appears to be an incredibly large, sort of white grey wolf.
Okay.
And as you, so what would your sort of initial reaction be? And we're sort of talking like dire wolf size, so big.
Do we have these in the south? I guess not.
No, you don't really have dire wolves. Obviously, you've got wolves, but like this is like double the size of any wolf you've seen. Although it's clearly a wolf.
This is like a small car.
Yeah, this is like the sort of biggest wolf you've probably seen ever.
That being the case, I do sling my bow around my torso. I'll just light a torch. Just immediately, I was like, get a fire going because it's
okay. As you
I'll
sort of see it, it also sees you, and it growls deep in its throat.
Yeah, it is some distance away though.
Oh yeah.
Happy to note. So
You can see it appears to be sort of like cautiously trying to like sort of circle and get a bit closer, but obviously it doesn't want to directly come at you.
yeah, and I'll light the torch with my tinderbox. Is it? Yeah. So -1 torch. Get that lit, and I'll counter circle, trying to back away.
Okay, so as you're backing away with this torch, you can see that this like huge wolf, now it's sort of like lifted its head. You can see it's actually got like a hare or perhaps a rabbit sort of in its jaws already. And as you're sort of backing away, like it's pretty much doing the same thing. So you're both sort of circling around each other, and the circle's getting bigger as you're both sort of like keeping your eyes on each other, but you're both sort of withdrawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to the camp.
Yeah, no problem. And you beat feet back to the rest of them.
Right. Now, since this probably doesn't take a whole lot of time, can I save the torch in any capacity if I put it out afterwards?
Yeah, you just like dip it in the snow and
Yeah,
you're like, all right, it's going to take a while to dry, but otherwise it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, because you only really lit it and sort of went.
Yeah, because it's like going to be like 10 minutes of me being like, is it going to go down or?
Yeah, like I say, I mean, they burn for like an hour, so 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll put it out and like move it back to camp.
Yeah, that's fine. You head back to camp where the rest of them are. Anyone doing anything else?
I'll just do a bit of foraging at the end of the day while we're waiting.
No, just check on the state of the corpse. Not that it's got further to go now. But
obviously, it is decaying like a corpse, but since it's been less than like a week, it's not sort of like entirely putrefied. Although like the smell is starting to get a bit severe from it. You know, like obviously because it's been exposed to the elements, like bits of flesh have sort of come off it.
And there's a spot of warm weather, as we know.
Yeah, there's a distinct reek rising from it. So as you guys have been pushing on, sort of like being near to this thing has been getting like more and more unpleasant, and it's slowly as it's like moving through trees and like it's snagging like bits of its skin that are just getting torn off, and it like because it doesn't care. So as you're moving on, it's slowly starting to look less and less like the woman who you knew in the village, and now it's just looking more and more like tattered bits of like flesh and muscle on this sort of like skeleton. So yeah, it's quite unpleasant. But it doesn't move during the day, doesn't show any signs of reacting to anything during the day. It just lies there inert in the snow. Okay, so obviously D3 hit points back again if you've been resting. As the night begins to fall, the wind has started to rise. It's now quite a sort of a fair, I suppose call it a moderate wind. It's about sort of 18 miles an hour, but it's like a sort of steady wind. So it's like whipping the snow up, sort of obscuring vision a little bit. Although the temperature's still not too bad, the wind makes it feel a good deal cooler. And of course, as the last light of the sun fades away, once again, the putrefying, ragged remnants of this woman rise to their feet. She immediately shambles to the shore of this lake and just keeps going and disappears under the water.
So since we were expecting that, I think we've taken the rope off her and we'll just kind of let her go.
That's fine.
Okay. So something is attracting the dead to this island, it feels like.
Okay. Again, Oscar, as you're sort of looking up at on the same section of the wall you spotted the figure previously, you can now see a sort of, I mean, you can't pick out details, you're still like over 6 miles away, but you can see this sort of figure wearing like perhaps monk robes or some sort of like tattered robes. You can definitely see like you think a wooden shield with like maybe like a metal rim and a sword, and it just appears to be stood on one of the walls, sort of like looking outwards.
There, look.
You can all see it as he points it out.
Huh, I wasn't going mad.
Definitely not a place to go at night.
Or at all, maybe.
As you're watching, eventually you will see the sort of waterlogged, soggy remnants of the zombie that you've been following emerge up the bank or onto the island and sort of disappear amongst the ruins of these buildings.
That is good to know.
That's definitely somewhere to go.
This is probably something we need to look into periodically. Come back here now and then, see what's going on.
Should we go over during the day and have a look around? Those creatures seem inert during the day, and potentially quite a few could be slain.
Well, we've come so far.
Yeah. I think if we do go, I think we might want to keep an eye on it for a little bit. See if anything does happen during the day.
Okay, so if that's the plan, how many like days are you guys planning on scoping out the place?
I would have just like, let's stick around with the dawn for a couple of hours, like just seeing if anything moves.
Okay, yep. So you wait until the sun comes up. As the sun comes up, the figure sort of drops down below the sort of lip of the wall and disappears from view. You wait around during the day. You don't see any signs of life within the ruined fortification.
Okay. Shall we explore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Righto.
Okay. So you guys get in your makeshift boat that you've been bringing with you, like say, like your little canoe. You paddle across this eerily still lake. The waters are extremely clear here. You can see a few like fish swimming around in it. Although the water itself is quite cold. You sail across it, no real problems. You arrive on the far bank on this island. You can see, like I said, the few crumbled remnants of what appears to be an ancient sort of stone outer wall of some sort of fortification. It looks as though there were once towers, but they've long since crumbled away. Within, you can see the ruins and the rubble of various buildings. And I'm going to move you on to another map. Which I'm hoping you guys should be able to see.
Yep.
Okay, now I've set this map up so you should only be able to see like the view of your guys' like characters. Obviously the ruins, that whilst they don't impede movement, you can jump over and they do block line of sight. Although, do you know what? I'm actually going to turn that off because that's a bit ridiculous, such a in the day. And then it really matters at night. So let me just turn that off. Boom, there we go. Hopefully you can all see the map now.
Yeah, and a bunch of tokens as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as you guys, all of those tokens, I know they're sort of monster tokens, but they appear to be, as you're sort of moving through the ruins, and obviously we're not in combat rounds, so feel free to like move your own tokens where you will. As you're sort of moving around, you can see that those tokens are basically various bodies. The sort of skeletons are like long decayed bodies that are mere bones and scraps of cloth. The zombie style tokens are more recent bodies that still have flesh clinging to them. As you move through the various buildings, which as I say have got sort of like trees and vegetation growing amongst them, they're little more than ruins, you come across a number of what appear to be stone tombs or sarcophagi, each of which is carved so that the lid shows a figure, a warrior with a sword sort of running down the length of its body, arms folded across it there, and a serene expression on its face with its eyes closed. Each of the, as you sort of move around and look at these various different sort of tombs, each of them is distinct, although they're similar. Basically it looks as though they've all got the same body, but the faces are all like carved differently.
Fascinating.
Although a lot of the finer details of the sculpture have obviously been like lost to time because they're quite weathered, but you can still make out these figures. Okay, what do you want to do, guys?
Should we kill all these creatures while they sleep before we potentially open one of these sarcophagi?
Any specific ideas on what exactly we should do regarding that?
The death of the creatures or the sarcophagi?
Yeah, the things.
My sense was a hatchet to the head, to the general neck area.
Yeah, we know an arrow to the head solves them. Stop them.
That creature we met seemed to think that, you know, damage to the head was sufficient.
Yeah.
And that could be done relatively quietly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grab a rock.
Yeah. Weimar is just going to stomp on skulls, I guess.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can certainly do that.
So I think, John, what is next is a patrol of putting the boots.
Stop it, Tom. Stop it, Tom.
Systematic slaughter.
That is absolutely fine. So you guys head round and you decapitate, stomp, and dispatch these creatures. So just give me a moment while I walk these tokens off, which will handily make the map a bit clearer as well. Yeah, so you guys wander through the ruins and pretty much stomp all of these inert corpses, either cutting their heads off, stomping them into paste, etc. Obviously that takes a fair old amount of time, so it's about midday by the time you finish doing that.
I think that we should open this one here on the top left because it's kind of isolated from the others. And if we open it and it goes wrong, we can still make it to the boat.
Okay. So I guess I'll have my hand axe to hand
Okay.
as we try and open the sarcophagus.
Okay, so can whoever's opening it make me a strength roll, please?
Is this an open door roll or just a strength roll?
It's a strength roll.
Success.
Yep, so it's like a big heavy stone slab, so it takes a bit of like grunting and like probably getting like a stick to use as a lever and stuff like that. But eventually you manage to heave this sarcophagus lid off and sort of like crashes down next to it. Inside the stone sarcophagus you can see what appears to be a wizened, sort of almost like sort of bog mummy style sort of corpse, like very leathery skin that's drawn tight around the bones. It appears to be wearing the remnants of some sort of robes, like hooded robes, but they're sort of like stained and decayed. Its arms across its chest, and there is a metal sort of like long sword sort of gripped in its hands with like the blade pointing down towards its feet.
Okay.
What condition is the sword in?
The sword looks almost new.
Is there anything else that sort of like inorganic material on the corpse?
Not
Like
that you can see.
any jewelry or like.
However, you do notice one odd thing as you're sort of like looking around it. Like the body, as I say, it's like bog mummy style.
Yeah,
It's
leather
quite-
corpse.
it's pretty well preserved. But as you're sort of looking around it, you notice that where like the eye sockets are on this body, there's just like a sort of a mass of like scar tissue.
Okay.
Like of the sort which you'd see on like someone who had like mad loads of like burns on them.
Mm-hmm. Like someone who we used to know.
Yeah. Indeed, yeah, it does put you in the minds of the scars at the end the priest had.
Does it seem like the bog mummy was burned, or the person who became the mummy was burned?
It looks like it's quite old scarring. So obviously, you can't know for definite.
Yeah, for sure.
But you think possibly before it was as it is now.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess something happened here. Is there, John, any writing on the tomb?
It looks as though there was once, but it's like long
Yeah,
been
worn
sort of
away.
abraded away by the elements.
Yeah.
Well, look at where the ears are. Elves have pointy ears. Does this thing have pointy ears?
Now you mention it, no.
Does this one doesn't have a shield, does it?
No.
No. Okay. And did any of the other creatures that got stomped on have like weapons and shields, or were they all kind of zombie-like?
They're all just sort of zombie-like.
Sorry, John, did we lose you there for a second?
Yeah, I think you might have hiccuped there, or your
Oh,
connection.
right, okay.
Anyway.
No, they didn't have any weapons. They were all just zombie-like.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So then it's reasonable to assume that these creatures also rise at night. And therefore, we should potentially put them all on a bonfire.
But it seems strange that they all climb back in and pull the sarcophagus lids over them.
I was just thinking that they probably don't, even if they. I guess, and I'll. Is it possible to look at the lid?
Yeah.
Is there anything on the inside cover? And what I'm thinking is, has the thing been banging its head or clawing at the lid? Like, is there, I guess, like skin scrapings and whatnot on the
There
lid?
aren't claw marks. However, as you examine it, you notice there are marks sort of that show like the lid's been like slid off several times.
If these things get out on their own,
Jeez. Yeah. We don't want to be around, do we?
No.
If they can walk underwater, we don't want to lead them back.
Because these things could take apart a house, I bet, if they can just get out of one of these on their own. Okay. So, Cameron, do you think we should just open all of these and pile them up like cordwood?
I do. I guess it's hard to know what's the right thing to do, but
Okay, first of all, and I'll put I'll switch my hand axe out for my short sword.
Okay.
I'll put the short sword on the on like in one of the eye sockets, like just above, and I'll just say, Cameron, would you please like touch the corpse? Let's see if it moves when you touch it, and if it does, I will slam down on the thing.
okay. So I will basically try and grab the sword
Okay.
and pull the sword out, and see if that makes the creature move.
Okay.
While Oscar runs away.
I'll step back.
Roll me a d6, John.
3.
You reach out and snatch the sword out of the corpse's grasp. It does not react.
Okay. I let out a. Oh. Yeah, I was hoping for that. Oh boy. Sometimes, I think to myself, what are we doing here? And then I
Surviving.
just push that down. Okay. I guess we'll take this one out then. We can just put it here on the sort of
Yeah.
thorough way. Or
And I can start chopping down timber.
Yeah, no problems.
okay, corpse into the pile of bones here on the.
Yeah,
Right.
that's absolutely fine. You lift it out. It's quite light. Doesn't react at all.
Is it in rigor mortis? Is it just like Is it flexible?
It's
at all?
flexible. Yeah.
It is flexible.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think these need to be burned. I definitely need to do that.
Mm.
And while we're at it, I'll get the hand axe and I will chop off the head of this one as we lay it
Yeah,
on the
that's
rope.
absolutely fine. Given the leathery toughness of the flesh, it takes you a few swings more than it did with the others. But yeah, you lop its head off.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And again, there's a sigh of relief that like my frenzied chopping actually didn't revive it.
Nope.
There's a, whew, yeah, and I'll leave that and go scope out the next sarcophagus for us to.
Okay, so do you want to ping me on the map which one you're looking at next?
I think we'll go with this one and the next one.
Okay.
Closest one.
Yeah, no problems. It takes you a little while again to open it, but you open it and it's not identical, but it's a figure wearing similar robes and with the same sort of state of like mummification about it. Again, has a sword laid over its chest. It shows no signs of reacting when you like prod, poke it, etc.
Okay.
And if I take the sword,
Doesn't react. You take the sword.
okay.
Okay. Into the pile it goes.
Okay.
Same thing though. I will chop off the heads of these things.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. It's no problem. Okay, so just to sort of speed through this bit, when you check out the sort of 4 crypts that are in this sort of area,
Yeah.
they again have a similar creature in. Again, it doesn't react. So you take the 4 of them out, chop the heads off, put them in the pile, etc. When you... Let's see if I just zoom out a little bit. So when you guys sort of make your way sort of a bit further down, so sort of to here-ish, the 3 corpses on the left-hand side of the map, so 3 tombs. As you go to look at these, you can see that the quality of the sculpture on these 3 tombs. So I'm just going to grab your guys and move them down there. Oh, I'll take a tomb with you. There you go. have a free tomb, guys.
Okay, this is where we live.
Let me just magically move him back up. There we go. Look at that. Power of suggestion. The floating tomb. Okay, so as you guys get down here, these sort of 3 tombs that you're near, like I say, the quality of the carving on these is much finer, even though again it's slightly degraded by time and the weather, but like more of it seems to have there's no text again, but you see more details of the figure. They have more sort of like flowing like furs and robes. On these figures, you can make out what appears to be like the sign of some sort of like sunburst symbol on the robes.
Okay, I'll start making drawings of those.
Yeah.
Any other like fancy regalia on these? Do they have anything that has been preserved, I guess?
You see by looking at the carvings on the sort of stone that each of them has like an amulet or a torque around their neck, which again seems to be like a sunburst pattern in like a round sort of like amulet, effectively.
Yeah. No writing though on.
No. Also, the pommel of their swords appears to be round and have the same sunburst symbol on it.
Yeah.
Well, the pommel on the like carved stone bit.
Mm. Okay, I guess this is the royalty then. Or nobles.
Yeah.
Or the upper echelons of their religious sect.
That's true as well, yeah.
Or warrior priests or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 more for the fire.
Yeah. Again, takes a bit of time because like I said, these are like even like heavier, sort of heftier, like built to last sort of like tombs. So it does take a good deal of time to lift these lids off. But again, you find these similar sort of corpses inside, although their robes have survived a bit better due to the better quality of the tomb. You can just about make out, since the colours like leached out and faded, some of these like sort of sunburst patterns on them. Again, swords that you can see the like mouldering, rotted remnants of like furs that would have once gone over their shoulders, sort of around these brown, leathery flesh, sort of mummified warriors.
Okay, but none of them have had a shield, right? They've all been just swords.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I do wonder about that.
Maybe we should check the last one.
All right,
So-
yeah, it is the last one.
So are you guys on the standard like behead, throw in the pile for these 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Because they're in slightly better condition. Takes a bit longer to like chop their heads off. Obviously, like the day's getting on, but you're like,
Yeah.
Chop
I'm
the heads off
envisioning
in the
a nightly
pile.
pyre.
yeah, in
There's-
the pile.
I am amused by the fact that some groups might have, like back in the day, standard door opening procedure. We have a different one. it involves decapitation.
Yeah, standard decap procedure.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Decap.
so you all move over to the final tomb. Now, as you enter the sort of the ruins of the building that this one's in, you can see that like if the three last tombs you looked at were like good, and the ones you looked at earlier were like all right, that this is like the daddy of like carved tombs. It's like most of the carving, because again there's no writing, but there are some like weird like pictograms around the edge of the lid, which like don't mean anything to you guys, but they're perhaps some form of language. Again, this carving on the lid of this is like immaculate, and it shows this like what appears to be like quite a this tomb's quite big, shows quite a big fellow, and he's wearing like sort of furs over his shoulder. He's wearing what appears to be a crown with like a sunburst on the front of it. There's like sunbursts all over his robes. He's holding a sword, has a shield by his legs. Big sunburst on the shield, sunburst on the pommel of the sword again. He has like a sort of ringleted with like sort of like braids in it, sort of like ringleted beard that's so like well carved you can see all the individual like ringlets of the beard. And as you continue looking at the tomb, around the sort of sides of it is what appears to be almost like like sort of Bayer tapestry style, where they have like one big scene that like wraps around. It's like that, and this carving appears to show a group of warriors, again all wearing this sunburst motifs, sort of tied to what appeared to be large stakes. There's flames licking around at their feet, and you can see what appear to be figures sort of stood with their backs to you, the audience, sort of looking on as these knights are sort of being burned at the stake effectively.
The people who are burning them look kind of humanoid, humanish.
They do look human. I mean, their mode of dress is odd and sort of archaic to you, but you can see like a number of them are holding what recognisably look like farm implements.
Okay. Not the first time these guys have been burnt.
I find that very interesting, because this would have happened. This is the story of how these people came to be, maybe. Because why would you, if this is the Lord of the Castle and there was a revolt, the peasants burned all these, the peasants wouldn't have carved this nice tomb for him. So I'm thinking this is them back in the day. Right? Because it's, why would all this exist if this was a rebellion that actually destroyed these, whatever these knights were? Well, anyway.
Obviously, we're getting fairly late on in the day by now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so
dusk is just starting to fall.
Yeah, like, is this a case of like us pushing against the last rays of the sun?
Pretty much.
Okay, so I guess, are we opening the thing?
Yes, I think we definitely should.
Okay, now this one's even heavier than the previous one. You will get it open because there's three of you, obviously. So what I'm going to say is, can you pick one of you to please roll me a d6 roll?
Cameron, you were very good with the last one.
Okay.
Anything but a 1 or a 2?
No, not good.
Okay.
So, sorry, just if it's a surprise roll, I'm not surprised.
It's not a surprise roll. Okay.
I don't think any of us will be surprised what happens next.
So just as you guys are sort of like, it's a lot heavier than you'd expected, and it takes you a lot longer to move it. And just as you're lifting this lid, like the last rays of the sun are disappearing behind the horizon. Now, Cameron and Weimar, you're sort of lifting the thing. Oscar, you happen to be looking around, and as you're looking around, you notice that like sort of tendrils of like a low-lying mist have started to sort of like creep in, sort of around about like knee height. And sort of as you guys are like lifting this lid off, you know, like heaving and sweating and moving this lid off, soon the sort of whole of the ground is sort of swathed in this film of mist. So it looks like you're standing in this white pearlescent sea from which these ruins sort of like jut out like islands or rock formations. But you get the lid off just as the last rays of the sun are sort of disappearing, and inside you can see this figure. There's still like quite well preserved because the tomb's even better. There's still a few like wispy strands of beard hair and actual hair around the sort of walnut brown leathery flesh of this mummified warrior. You can see there is a large wooden shield with a metal rim around it near his feet. He has a sunburst sword clasped across his chest, and has like his furs have survived in better nick basically. And on the top of his head is what appears to be a crown made of gold with a sunburst sort of motif like emblazoned on the front of it. Like all of the other bodies, he appears to be like missing his eyes, and there's like a mass of scar tissue where each of his eye sockets was.
Okay.
You've got a couple of rounds before like the light has gone and all this mist sort of around you. What do you do?
I'm kind of torn. 'Cause my immediate sense is that if he does wake up, it would be good if he can have a sword and a shield. But I'm also like, that's a very shiny crown. And I'm not smart. So my sense is that I'll instantly grab the crown.
Okay. That's absolutely fine. Roll me a d6.
4.
Okay. So as you reach in to get the crown, the mists that sort of around you at sort of knee height seems to flow up and into the tomb in front of you, and when it recedes, the body that was once in the tomb is no longer there.
Okay.
Whoa, what?
I will step out with the quickness to look at our corpse pyre.
Okay, you look in
Is
the
it
direction of your corpse pile, it is not there.
We need to go immediately.
Okay, we'll just
I
hold there for a
whisper back
second,
to you.
guys.
Okay. It would just put every enemy on the exit.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just crawl into these tombs, right?
Just hide in there until daylight,
Yeah.
and then leave. To be honest, it's not the worst idea. Okay, I think that's all of them. There we go. Okay, so as you guys start moving out, so obviously you can move, I think it's 30 feet you can move if I remember correctly. Each square's 5 foot. So you guys have like, you're up and running basically, so make your first move.
Okay. So, hightailing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to go off the northern edge of the map to get to your, to the top edge of the map to get to
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I see any of these guys?
Yeah, if there's nothing blocking your way, you can see them. So as you all start moving, you can see these figures. They're not shambling like the creatures you saw earlier. They appear to walk with slow, purposeful steps, each of them holding a sword. As you watch the sort of like mist sort of like swirling around them, with these sort of these like warrior monk robes on. They slowly start, almost solemnly, sort of moving out from the ruins of the buildings. So I will make their move.
Could I have shot before they moved, or were we just
Yeah.
moving before we?
Yeah, you can take a shot.
Okay, so I'll take a shot at this guy to my left. Ooh, that's not good.
Also, the D10 for the.
Yeah, you need to roll a d10, see if you hit.
Oh, it did go off. It just missed.
Okay. Yeah, it does go off and miss. They don't even flinch.
Okay.
So, which one are you shooting at?
I was this one here on my left,
Okay.
kind of in the closest one to be in our way.
Yeah. Can I also take a shot at that?
Yeah, go for it.
With the bow. Okay. 19.
Okay, let me just check his AC.
If this doesn't hit, I think we might need to skip. Skip
You know, as
the
the old saying goes. That just hits.
Great. That is great. 3 damage.
Okay, no problems.
Though I don't think they necessarily care. They don't seem like the type to care about this kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, so one of your arrows like into the chest of this creature. You notice it was walking forward, but then as like your arrows like through the air, it's like, and the arrow like hits it there, but its like head snaps around to face the direction of the arrow.
Take a slingshot.
Okay.
Boink.
Okay, so unfortunately your stone, your pebble, whatever you're firing, does like hit it, but it just like spangs off it, doesn't really seem to do any damage.
Oh, damn. They're tough. Run.
Okay, let me move.
The chopper.
No. Yeah, I guess it's gauntlet time.
Okay, so one thing you do notice is just sort of saying that Weimar as you're looking around. You notice that the only one that seems to actually be heading towards you guys is this one that you've just shot at. The rest of them are just sort of like slowly making their way through the ruins, but they're not like converging on your location or anything.
Hey, just keep going, Cameron.
Okay, so I will.
As you shout, just keep going, Cameron. You notice like the nearest of these creatures suddenly go and like turn their heads towards you.
Keep going, Cameron.
Okay, so Cameron, it's over to you.
So I will move to there, kind of trying to stay 10 feet away from this creature.
That's fine. Don't forget, if you forfeit like doing anything else, you can like double your move.
No, I'll
Like,
absolutely double him.
if you just like and just like running.
Yeah, I think that is the sound effect for this.
Pretty much, Cameron. You've like run to the edge and like jumped in the boat. You're like pushing the boat like into the water. Come on, guys, come on.
Wait for me.
Okay, so as you jump in the boat, and obviously you push it out, and there's like a loud splash as it hits the water. You notice as there's this loud splash, all of these these creatures that are nearby all suddenly turn their heads in your direction and start like moving towards you.
Okay.
Now they're not going to get a chance to get to you before you push the boat out. So you push the boat out and you watch as the sort of like the 5 who are nearest move like right up to the edge of the water, and then sort of with their swords held up, and then they stop.
Okay.
And you guys paddle back towards the shore as you watch these mummified undead warriors sort of like becoming smaller as they sort of fade away into the distance.
Now, weren't those the ones you cut the heads off?
You saw what happened with the
Yeah.
Lord sarcophagus.
The
It
mist.
happens to all of them.
Oh.
I don't think they're necessarily bodies anymore.
Hmm.
I think they might be ghosts. As we frantically make our way. So it would have. I think they're ghosts.
Was there any sense of where the mist came from,
It seemed,
or was it?
I mean,
was it
you'll
there?
have probably seen this, Oscar. It seemed to just like sort of slowly like seep out of the ground.
Came from all over. Like the whole island was breathing smoke.
Mm.
And
Okay.
as he says that thing, it was as though the whole island was breathing smoke. And you paddle back towards shore. That is where we're going to draw an end to the session for this evening, guys. Thank you very much for playing. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll sort out XP and whatnot shortly. And obviously I'm happy to chat for a while. But thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant, John. Thank you.
Very much.
And thank you to anyone who's watching this either now or in the future. Hopefully we'll catch you on the next episode. So, stop the stream here.